And welcome into our game break, little mid-game action. We just finished up the women's game. Miami drops a heartbreaker to Xavier, 87 to 68. Just the Musketeers, too much to handle for the Miami RedHawks. Were unable to get it done. Exciting game, however. Certainly a lot that you can build on if you're Miami. We're going to talk about that game for a little bit, but then we're going to flip the page. Evansville takes on the RedHawks here at Millett Hall. We mentioned earlier we got back-to-back coverage, 2 games, 1 night, doubleheader. Let's kick off a basketball season. What do you say? But flipping back to the Miami women's game, like we said, just Xavier, a lot to handle for the RedHawks. We're unable to get the job done, but a lot to build on, including the second half ultra performance of Maddie Kluse, 24 points. She was playing with 4 fouls, so you saw the defensive end kind of broke down. She couldn't get physical like she likes to. Had to let a lot of blow-bys go past her on the defensive end because she couldn't afford that 5th foul, which you understand. But 24 points, and they simply could not handle her. She was 2 for 5 from 3, 10 for 16 in field goals altogether. She also had 6 rebounds on the night. So on a night where you don't have your best scorer from a year ago, a lot to build on, especially with Maddie Kluse. And also, we saw number 4 all night, Wolf. Ivy Wolf had herself a nice night, played 36 minutes out of the game. Just an absolute workhorse for the RedHawks. Ivy Wolf coming in with 17 points in that one, over 36 minutes. And that's really what the RedHawks needed to kind of get them through this game. Obviously not the result they were looking for, but certainly a lot to be proud of if you're Ivy Wolf. She shot 5 for 19 in field goals and 1 for 7 from 3. Not exactly what she was looking for there. She was 6 for 6 from the line, however, and she did pick up 2 personal fouls when it was all said and done. But a lot to build on for the RedHawks. Obviously, we saw number 34 as well. Armani Freeman had a good game as well for the RedHawks. So you have these stepping stones, and you're just going to have to keep building on those. If you're Miami's women's team with Coach Hendricks, you got a lot to like. You're going to get your main scorer from last year back at some point soon. I'm hearing rumblings of late November for Peyton Scott. Obviously scored 20 a game just a year ago. So a lot to look forward to if you're Miami. You can build on that. Looking to the Xavier side, I mean, everyone got in on the action, it seemed like, by the end of it. Kaylee Addy had 21. We saw Scarlett had 19. She was lights out from 3 in the second half. We saw her 4 for 4 in the game from 3, Michaela Scarlett, and she was really the dagger in that game for Miami. They were unable to get past her three-point shooting, and that was really the storyline in that one. Just great three-point shooting from Michaela Scarlett, and you couldn't get past it if you were Miami. As for Taylor Smith, she had 13 points. A nice night for her, 5 for 7 from the free throw line, 4 for 15 overall from field goal. Obviously, you'd like to see that number be a little bit better if you're Taylor Smith, but nonetheless, a lot to like over 32 minutes of play for the Musketeers. And then we see the top 4 rounded out by Keisha Woods, who had 10 points tonight, and certainly a nice night for her over, she had 26 minutes on the floor. So 10 points over 26 minutes for Woods, and that's really the scoring for the Musketeers. Like we said, it was just a lot to handle for Miami. They were unable to get it done in transition. Looking at the total stats, we saw Xavier had 87 points. They were 31 of 63 from field goal. That's almost a 50% clip. You're going to win a lot of games if you're shooting that well, and the big dagger for the RedHawks was 8 for 11 from the three-point line. Certainly something to circle in practice coming up for the RedHawks is going to be the closeout, because it just seemed like far too often Xavier had a lot of room from the behind the arc, and they were able to cash in, shooting at a 72.7% clip from the three tonight. Obviously, that's not something that's going to continue as the year goes on, you wouldn't expect, but nonetheless, still a very nice night to hang your hat on. They were 17 of 25 from the free throw. Could be improved there, but altogether, a very nice night for the Lady Musketeers. And then looking towards the total stats for Miami, they had 68 points. They were 21 of 52, 40% from field goal, not great there, and they were 33.3% from 3 at 6 for 18. So just not cashing in quite enough. Obviously, you see those stat lines, and that's what jumps in your head, is that you're taking a lot of shots, maybe shots that you don't need, and you're not cashing in, and that's really the key going down the stretch in games like that, where we saw it was neck and neck at halftime, two great evenly matched teams, and all of a sudden you look up on the score and it's almost 20 points that you're trying to overcome for a deficit, and that can really do that if you're shooting that poorly and your other opponent is shooting as well as they are. So nonetheless, Miami's going to turn the page. They're going to have to look to get better in the closeout and on defense, because simply giving up that many points is not going to be feasible for them to win games down the stretch. Looking ahead for the Miami women's basketball team, next they'll take on Vermont here at Millett Hall. That'll be on Friday at 10:15 a.m. That one should be a very good game. Obviously, that's the Talawanda Schools Day, so all the kids will be here at Millett Hall bringing the energy, and that's really something to look forward to if you're the Miami women's team. Get that energy in the building, get that first win of the year before you have to travel to Memphis next week on Wednesday, and then Western Kentucky after that. So looking forward for the RedHawks. They've got a nice test with Vermont coming up, and then they'll go on the road for a couple games, be road warriors. But nonetheless, if you're Miami women's team, you got to turn the page, get better on defense, get better this week of practice, and be ready to go on Fridays. So that'll do it for our coverage of the women's game tonight. We saw them drop the game against Xavier 87-68. But now let's flip terms to the Miami men's game. Obviously, this is a program that's got a new buzz around it. Obviously, a lot of moves were made this offseason. They're going to try to make something happen after a less than impressive year last year. Tonight, they'll start off their season against a team that struggled very much so last year as well in the Evansville Purple Aces. They were 6-24 last year at 2-16, got bounced in the first round by Valpo in the Missouri Valley tournament, and they lost not only were they that bad last year, but they lost their top scorer in Givens, who scored a lot for them last year. They're going to need they would have loved to have his presence back, but nonetheless, they cleared house. They're with the new coach, that coach being David Ragland, who's actually in his first season as a D1 head coach. David Ragland going to look to kind of resurrect this program to what was once a proud program, but now has really been kind of the laughingstock of the Missouri Valley Conference. Obviously, that's a conference that's dominated by both Drake and Loyola, teams that are pretty much perennial tournament teams at this point. They just always find themselves getting their name called for the big dance, and Miami looking to get back to that as well at some point with their new coach, Travis Steele. But let's stay with the Evansville Purple Aces right now. Their one big key returner that they had, they were only actually returning 4 players from last year's squad. The main returner is Blaze Beaucamp, obviously at 8 points per game last year with 1.6 rebounds per game. Beauchamp is going to be a big key on both the offensive and defensive end. One of the only returners on this team. We're going to look for him to be a starter and a big role for this team as well. Like we said, they've really cleared house. They've only got 4 returning starters. They've got a new coach. They're ready to turn the page in their program and make something happen here at Miami. Now turning the page to the Miami RedHawks. Last year, a less than impressive year once again. They have not exactly had it going in recent years in this program. They're trying to get back to some of what they've been able to do in past years prior to now. Last year, they were 14-18 with 8-12 in the MAC. We saw them get bounced first round to Kent State in the MAC tournament. So looking to turn the page. Obviously, there's a new buzz around campus. We mentioned it earlier. Hired from just down the road, Travis Steele, freshly off his 4-year stint with the Xavier Musketeers. And they've got big hopes for him here at Miami University. Obviously was unable to get it done with the Musketeers of Xavier, going 70-50 in their program and missing the tournament each year of that 4-year tenure. But nonetheless, there's a lot of buzz around Miami thinking that Travis Steele can really turn the corner for this Miami team and bring them to their former glory of some of the days of past, where they can constantly go to the tournament and be competitive in the MAC each year. And I think that's really the limit. The sky's the limit, here for Travis Steele. Just being a really good MAC contender is something that he has talked about extensively wanting to get back to the tournament here. He wants to really build a nice program. He's a great recruiter, always has been known for his recruiting and his culture. He's going to look to build that culture here tonight with Miami, pick up that first win of his tenure with the RedHawks against Evansville. Looking towards the RedHawks at who they're returning, Mekhi Larry had 13.6 points per game last year, a 91.5% free throw percentage shooter last year. One of the best teams in the nation from the charity stripe was Miami, and Mekhi Larry was a big reason for that. He also had 2.9 rebounds per game. It's worth noting, Mekhi Larry is actually originally from Evansville, Indiana, so kind of a homecoming to you game for Mekhi Larry. So certainly a lot on his mind, want to perform well. I'm sure he's going to have some family in the crowd here and going to look to perform for them. So Mekhi Larry might have that little extra chip on his shoulder tonight, trying to put on for his hometown squad. Kamari Williams coming into this one as well. He's a big forward, can make things happen, listed at 6'7". He's got a lot of ball skills, can make things happen. He had 6 points per game last year, 3.3 rebounds per game, and he could be a good forward that can really stretch the floor, make things happen, athletic frame. Going to look for him to be a big part of this offense under Travis Steele here at Millett Hall. And then the Miami RedHawks were very, very active in the transfer portal this year. One of the most notable being Anderson Mirabeau, transferred from Cleveland State. He's listed at 6'8", 305, didn't average many points for Cleveland State, but you certainly love his size and you're interested to see what he can bring to this team. Speaking of size, Miami really bringing the size this year. We're talking to Luke West Poley prior to the game. This is really a much improved part of this team. Last year they were a smaller team. This year they've got some big fellas on the roster. Curtis Harrison the fourth, he's listed at 6'7". Jaquel Morris 6'8". And one thing interesting, Jaquel Morris, one of the members of the freshman class coming in here to Miami basketball, averaged 15.6 rebounds per game in the Bronx in high school. I mean, obviously you got to be cut from a different cloth to get 10 rebounds per game, but to be around 16 rebounds per game is something just to really talk about. Obviously this guy, we're not sure what his playing capacity is going to be being just a freshman, but you have to wonder if he gets on the floor, he's going to be fighting tooth and nail for those balls, especially the 50-50 balls for the RedHawks tonight. And Mitchell Riley, from the somewhat hometown kid from just over the river in Covington Catholic, listed at 6'8" coming into this one, was a very good player in high school. I actually got to cover him multiple times in my time at St. X with ESPX. Came to the Burning Gymnasium a few times, and he could really ball. I can leave it at that for Mitchell Riley. Certainly could be a big player on this year's team as well, one of the freshmen as well. A lot of freshmen in this class. It's also worth noting, we talked about Travis Steele. We'll get right back to him here. Travis Steele, one of the biggest news of him becoming a Miami RedHawk coach, locked down the commitment of Evan Ipsaro, also from CovCast. So could we be building a little pipeline? CovCast got a pretty good team across the river, in the high school ranks. That certainly could be something that Miami is building towards under Travis Steele, now getting Riley and eventually Ipsaro in this program. But like we said, Miami embarking on its first year with Travis Steele after parting ways with Jack Owens. We talked about Travis Steele had a less than impressive tenure with Xavier by Xavier standards, but there's a lot of hope around this Miami program that he can really be the spark that this team needs, get the recruits in the building, and build a culture here for Miami to be back to being competitive in the MAC. Travis was a great recruiter. He brings a young and electric atmosphere to the floor. There's no doubt about that. That was one thing he was always highly praised about in his time at Xavier. So that's going to be the story of the tape here for both Miami and Evansville. It should be a good game for these two teams. Miami looks to pick up a home win to start off the year and move to 1-0 here from Millett. Should be a good game. We'll be back with our scoreboard segment on our game break here from Millett Hall. We'll be back right after this. And we're back here on Red Hawk Radio, just a few minutes away from 20 to be precise, from the Evansville Purple Aces and the Miami RedHawks. We're looking at our scoreboard segment at the moment, looking in the MAC to start off. Toledo in a nice game in the second half, about midway through with Valparaiso. They are up 66 to 44 over Valpo. That game should be ending up in a win for Toledo. Toledo's going to be really a team to look out for in the MAC. Talks of them maybe even cracking the top 25 at a point this year. That could be a really good squad in the MAC, and it's certainly favorited to win this conference. Earlham playing Ball State. That game is a bloodbath right now. Ball State leading the game 61 to 19 over Earlham. That game could continue to get ugly as it's only 17-32 left in the second half. That game certainly could get worse going down the stretch. South Dakota State taking on Akron with 12:04 left in the second. That game knotted up right now. 50 for Akron to 49 for South Dakota State. Jackrabbits giving Akron all they can handle on their home floor. That game could be interesting going down the stretch. We'll have to keep our eyes on that one in the MAC. Colgate taking on Buffalo, 51 to 47. Colgate on top. 14:08 left in the second half. Buffalo looking to not drop to 0-1 on their home floor. Certainly would think a win against Colgate would help out that program, but Colgate has different things in mind. Kent State taking on Northern Kentucky. The Flashes are up 44 to 32 with 15:52 left in the second. Air Force taking on Bowling Green. That game pretty close right now. Bowling Green only up 45 to 41. That one about midway through the second half as well. Wayne State taking on Eastern Michigan, 32 to 20. The score there in favor of Eastern Michigan. At halftime, Ohio is actually trailing Belmont right now, 41 to 34. And we see early in the first quarter, Northern Illinois is losing to Illinois Springfield, 21 to 14. So some interesting scores, maybe some upset watches for some of these MAC teams now. And then obviously we've got our game against Evansville for here on Red Hawk Radio coming up in about 17 minutes, and Western Michigan taking on Minnesota at 9 o'clock. So some good games to watch out for, some games going on in the MAC that you should definitely keep your eyes on if you got your ESPN app open. Could certainly have some action in the MAC here on a Monday night. Now we'll turn to our top 25. Not much crazy happening, but we'll go through all the scores anyway. Duke, number 7 in the nation. John Shire taking over for the Blue Devils, looking to see what he can't get going after the long-tenured Coach K retires. In Duke, they are leading Jacksonville University right now, 50 to 28. Lindenwood taking on number 24 Dayton. It's 35 to 26. That's a Dayton squad that certainly felt like they were cheated out of a tournament appearance last year. Certainly felt like they had a really good year, deserving to be in the big dance, but were unable to get there. And Dayton looking to get back under Coach Grant. That should be a Flyer team that's very motivated this year. Would not be surprised if they win their conference and put up a really good fight going into March. Number 4, Kentucky taking on Howard, 85 to 56 is the score there with 5 minutes left in the second half. Coach Calipari, you know what he's going to do with those boys in blue, going to make them be stars on the floor, and that's exactly what Kentucky's getting back to doing here against Howard. LaSalle taking on number 16 Villanova in the Big East, 73 to 60. A lot closer than Villanova would like. Obviously, 2:09 left in the second. That game probably out of reach for LaSalle, but nonetheless, you see Jay Wright retire, a longtime coach at Villanova, one of the greatest coaches to ever roll through the Big East, wins a couple national titles, retires last summer, and you have to wonder, what's the drop-off going to be? Is there going to be a drop-off? You certainly hope not if you're a Villanova Wildcat fan, but nonetheless, that game a little closer than comfort for Villanova. Purdue Fort Wayne taking on number 22 Michigan. That game is 69 to 47 in favor of the Wolverines. That game's got 3:22 left in the second. Michigan looking to pick up an early win under Coach Howard and get back to 1-0 and continue some of their dominant runs that they've had into March in past years. Tennessee taking on Tennessee Tech. That game is led by the Volunteers, 40 to 22 over the Golden Eagles. It's got 15:53 left in the second half. Tennessee looking to get back to their dominant form. They've really put together some nice runs, especially deep into the SEC tournament, even into the big dance for March Madness. Tennessee, a very formidable program out of the SEC right now. Number 13, Indiana, leading Morehead State 51-37 with 13:44 left in the second quarter. And they've got some really nice players in Indiana. Safe to say that Miami will travel to Indianapolis to play them on a neutral site in a few weeks. And that's going to be a fun game for Miami just to see some of their really big, really nice players that they've got in Bloomington. With 13:06 left in the first quarter, number 3 Houston is up 12-4 over Northern Colorado. Houston had some really nice runs in past years, getting to that Final Four in the bubble, and they're looking to get right back there this year, ranked number 3 in the preseason polls, and they've got a good squad in Houston right now. 13:52 left in the first quarter. Kansas up 13-9 over Omaha. That game should be a fun one for Kansas to win big, but obviously you can't take anything for granted. Bill Self on suspension right now, self-imposed by the university. You never know. Obviously some games can get closer when your head coach is not at the helm like you'd like him to be, but nonetheless, you have to imagine number 5 Kansas going to lock that game down fairly soon. Arkansas knotted up at 14 with 13:18 left in the first quarter. The Must Bus got to get something going for Arkansas. They're tied up at 14 with the Bison. TCU number 14 is actually trailing Arkansas Pine Bluff, at 12-7 right now. That game's got 13:55 left in the first. A lot of time for the Horned Frogs, but they're going to need to get it going if they want to win that game. Auburn up big, 18-7 with 11:41 in the first over George Mason right now. And then Creighton against St. Thomas, Minnesota. That game at 8:30 as well. Alabama number 20 over against Longwood at 8:30. And we see North Carolina, the top team, returning national champion, is playing UNC Wilmington at 9 o'clock as well. Gonzaga taking on North Florida at 9 o'clock. Texas, number 12 in the nation, taking on UTEP. North Carolina Central taking on Virginia. Eastern Illinois taking on Illinois. Northwestern State taking on number 25, Texas Tech. Coach Beard and company have got a nice squad in Lubbock this year. Number 17, Arizona taking on Nichols. Number 19, San Diego State taking on Cal State Fullerton. Number 21, Oregon taking on Florida A&M. That game, all those games will be at 10 o'clock. And at 11:30, UCLA taking on Sacramento State. And earlier, way earlier in the day, around noon, Baylor defeated Mississippi Valley State 117-53. So a dominating game there for Baylor. And that'll just about wrap up our scoreboard segment. A lot to look out for, especially in the MAC Conference. We're about 11 minutes till tip here at Millett. Should be a good one between the Purple Aces and the RedHawks. We'll be back in just a second here on Red Hawk Radio. And welcome back to Millett. Just about set. 6 minutes on the clock. I now welcome on Jack and Luke. Guys, we got a good game. A new era has started here for Miami basketball. Travis Steele, hired in the offseason, gets to open up his Miami campaign here against Evansville. We'll start off with Luke. What are you like? What do you think about this matchup? This should be a good one for Travis Steele to start with.
Yeah, first off, just home run by the athletic department and David Saylor to be able to pick up a coach with experience in a quality conference and a quality program at Xavier that Travis Steele has, and to be able to bring him back to a program. We talked about it when we were off the air. I mean, if he's even able to recruit maybe 2/3 as well as he did at Xavier, Miami's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the MAC. So really, really excited to see what Travis Steele can do here at Miami. And here tonight, it's just going to be interesting because of so many new faces we're seeing for the RedHawks. I mean, you got a couple transfer additions, you got a lot of freshmen, you got some local guys, some guys from Indiana and around the country as well. So a lot of new faces for the RedHawks, and I'm just really excited to see how some of those guys step up. We know there are going to be a couple key players for the RedHawks. Makai Larry's always going to be good. Kamari Williams really stepped up in the second half of last season as well. I expect both of those guys to have good years this year as leaders of this team, but really excited to see how these new faces perform for the RedHawks.
Yeah, and you mentioned Makai Larry and Kamari Williams, two guys coming into this one. Really the main scorers that came back from last year's team. Makai Larry with 13.6 points per game. We talked about it off air as well, Luke. Great from the free throw line, over 90% shooter last year. And then Kamari Williams really brings size. And Jack, this is where I'm going to bring you in. This is a big team from Miami. They got a lot of guys over 6'7", a lot of guys at 6'8", like Mitchell Riley, like Jaquel Morris coming in as freshmen. Also Kamari Williams, a big body up there. What do you like about this size of this team? It just seems like we saw them in warm-ups. They can really, they got some bodies out there, and it's going to be interesting to see what they can't do, right?
Yeah, it really is interesting, Zach. I mean, they have Makai Larry at 5'8", obviously, and the walk-on Eli Yofan 6'2", and other than that, nobody below 6'4", and everyone other than Bryson Tatum on that roster, other than those three, everyone's above 6'5". So like you said, a lot of size here. I think it'll be interesting just to see how Travis Steele's team plays here in their first game. He mentioned a lot in his opening press conference that this was going to be a shooting team, but I think it's going to be a size team too. It'll be kind of interesting to see how those two things mesh and if they're able to mesh them together and provide a successful outcome.
Yeah, and shooting's a great part to talk about. Obviously, we've seen guys that can shoot it. Makai Larry's one of the smaller guards on this team. He can shoot it well, but so can Kamari Williams, who brings size. But there's one guy we got to talk about, the big fella. Coming out of Cleveland State, Anderson Mirambow. This guy, I mean, he brings some size. I remarked to Luke in the pregame scrimmage, I think we could use this guy in the trenches for a struggling Miami team, but that's neither here nor there. Mirambow, it's going to be interesting to see, Luke. What do you expect to see from this guy? Didn't record much stats, but it's going to be fun to see how they use him here for Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. He's kind of bounced through a couple of places. Maybe didn't have the career he necessarily wanted to at Cleveland State, but he was awesome in JUCO, coming out of Trinity Valley before he transferred to play for the Vikings for a couple of years. He's in his senior year this year, but he's a guy that can score. He had 13 points a game back in JUCO and 8 rebounds a game, which you can only expect from a guy as big as him at 6'8", 305. He's a big body, and Travis Steele talked about the big bodies on this team. He mostly focused on what they have on the wings. Their guards are a lot bigger than they were last year, but I really, really like the size down low and just the big, big frame that Anderson Mirambow brings. Huge transfer addition for the RedHawks and assistant coach Rob Summers, who came over from that Cleveland State program.
Yeah, and Mirambow could certainly be a force in the paint for a Miami team that could really use that to complement the shooting that they've got on this team. One of the starters for tonight, Ryan Mabry, one of the freshmen on this team out of New Jersey, a 6'5" guard listed right now. Going to be interested to see. I've heard he's a good shooter. Certainly going to be interesting to see how he fits in this offense, Jack.
Yeah, I was reading up on him a little bit before the game. 24/7, which is probably the premier recruiting service in the country, really raved about his shooting stroke. They said he must be accounted for when he's off the ball because he's so reliable as a knockdown shooter, especially when he's open. His high school coach, Pat Holmes, said he can create separation from defenders, make shots over big guys. He's got a great 1-2 dribble pull-up, and he can also play out of ball screens. And this guy's got a basketball pedigree, too. I mean, he's got a sister, Dara, who just finished her hoops career at the University of Notre Dame, and his other sister, Marina, plays for the WNBA's Dallas Wings. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Mabry is able to stroke it here today. I mean, he only had averaged 9.7 points per game as a senior in Belmar, New Jersey at high school, but we'll see. This is a whole new game. Will be interesting to see if he can get his shooting stroke going early in his college career tonight.
Yeah, it's a very interesting freshman class. We also got Jaquel Morris at 6'8", coming in, averaging just under 16 rebounds a game. Yes, we said that right. Out of the Bronx in New York, 16 rebounds a game. It's a load of new starters for the RedHawks, along with the new starting head coach. We'll turn it over to the broadcast booth. They're ready to go from Millett Hall. Just under a minute left before Travis Steele embarks on his first game as the head coach of the Miami RedHawks. Thanks for tuning into the pregame show. We'll be back with halftime.
Zach, thank you very much. All right, we take it away from Millett Hall. Luke West, Poley, Jack Schmelzinger alongside, and as we have long anticipated, a new era begins for Miami men's basketball tonight as Travis Steele takes over as head coach. RedHawks hosting the Purple Aces from the University of Evansville tonight. Jack, a really interesting matchup between a pair of teams in similar spots, two first-year head coaches, two teams that have not met in a couple of years, but in similar positions that need to build and hopefully want to build quickly. They got a lot of new additions on both sides. Should be, a really interesting matchup, kind of shrouded in mystery, it seems, on each side.
Absolutely. It really is shrouded in mystery. I mean, I spent a good part of the day today doing research, just kind of trying to figure out what to expect in this game, and I just couldn't really piece it all together. Just Miami's roster is coming from so many different places. There's not a lot of guys who really saw significant minutes returning this year, so it's really going to be interesting to see here in game one. I think we're going to learn a little bit about this team, but maybe reserve our judgments a little bit. It is only game one for Travis Steele, but I think it's a pretty good matchup against the Evansville Aces, who really didn't have a good year last year.
Absolutely. Evansville coming off a year in which they only won 6 games, 3 of those against Division III opponents, only had 2 conference wins in the Missouri Valley, in which they finished last. For Miami, 14-18 last year, 8-12 in the Mid-American Conference, a first-round loss in the MAC tournament to Kent State, who was the 2 seed, the Golden Flashes. That game at Rocket Mortgage Arena. As we've mentioned, a new era after Jack Owens moved on from the Miami program with his contract expiring at the end of last season. He's now an assistant at Ohio State, but really just a huge hire, and things just kind of pieced together almost perfectly in terms of timing, where Travis Steele was let go at Xavier and a new position pops up right away for him just down the road.
Yeah, it really was great timing, and like you said a couple minutes ago, it really seems like a home run signing, just a complete no-brainer. I mean, you get a guy who has experience recruiting in this area and who has a pedigree of being successful recruiting in this area. And just from listening to Travis Steele and just kind of watching how his players interact with him, he really seems like the type of guy that you would want to play hard for and just want to be conscientious out there for, want to make proud. So I agree. Definitely seems like a good hire. We'll see here. It's pretty cool to be witnessing history right now. I mean,
yeah,
how many people can say they witnessed his first game?
Yeah, absolutely. Travis Steele in his first game here at Miami, former Xavier head coach at the helm of the Musketeers for 4 seasons, went 70-50 to not qualify for an NCAA tournament. They qualified for 2 NITs. They won one last year after they let him go. And, of course, they were the last team out of the tournament after an upset in the A-10 championship. Xavier was bumped out a season ago, and Travis Steele was let go at the helm of Xavier. Really interesting coaching staff he's put together. He brought in Rob Summers, who was an assistant at Cleveland State, now an associate head coach. Steele's last win at Xavier was against Summers in Cleveland State in the first round of the NIT last year. He's brought in a couple of young coaches as well. Christian Smith, a guy that's going to know the head man on the other side, David Ragland, very well. Ragland was an assistant coach at Indiana State when Miami assistant Christian Smith was a player there. A lot of history between these two teams. These two teams met a few years ago as well, with Evansville winning that one 101-87 in a shootout back in 2019. Should be a fun one here tonight as the Miami starters are awaiting being announced. We will give you the starters for either side. It's going to be a couple of freshmen in the lineup for Miami, mixed in with some vets. Of course, Makai Larry, the 5th-year senior and hometown boy out of Evansville, Indiana, will start at guard for the RedHawks. He will be alongside Billy Smith out of Indianapolis, the 6'7" freshman. Ryan Mabry, who's had a lot of good things said about him, played at La Lumiere High School last year in Indianapolis, transferred in. He is from Belmar, New Jersey. Morgan Safford a guy that the coaching staff has really raved about, out of Columbus, transfer after he played 3 years at Wofford College in North Carolina. 6'5" redshirt junior will start at guard for the RedHawks tonight. And at center, it will be the big man, 6'8", 305 out of Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. Anderson Mirenbaugh will make his first start in the red and white after grad transferring from Cleveland State. Miami in the white tribal uniforms, red accents, tribal logos along the jersey trim. Evansville in their classy road purples with the orange and white accents and the script aces across the front. 20 minutes on the clock. Solid crowd here at Millett Hall, about half full in the lower bowl. All ready to go here from Millett. Miami moving right to left to begin this first half. As the RedHawks huddle and Travis Steele gives his final words of instruction to his team. RedHawks participating in their first public game of the year tonight. They had 2 private scrimmages, in which Travis Steele said, he was very blunt, they did not play very well. He did not think they were ready, but feels they have made great strides over the last couple of weeks, making it to opening night of the regular season here tonight. For Evansville, it will be Gage Bowe, Marvin Coleman, Yassine Tomi, Kenny Strawbridge Jr., and Saku Cali out on the floor for the Aces to start things off under first-year head coach David Ragland. The energy building here at Millett Hall, awaiting official signal to get things going. Thumbs are up. Waiting on that media timeout.
We're about to get to see the big man jump for the tip.
It will be Anderson Mirenbaugh against Saku Cali. Cali's got 2 inches on him, but I'd say he's probably got about 80 pounds less. 6'10" is Saku, sophomore out of Louisville, who played last year for the Akron Zips before transferring into Evansville. All right, here we go. Tip is up and we are underway. RedHawks have won it back to Makai Larry, and Miami will start with possession to begin this new season. To the far wing, Morgan Safford looking for an option top of the key. He will find Billy Smith. Now Makai Larry dumps one off for Mirenbaugh. Will take a long shot from outside the arc. That won't go. Rebound was scooped up by Smith, but he threw it right to an ace, and now Evansville comes the other way. Marvin Coleman will settle things down. The UNLV transfer passes top of the key for Yassine Tuomi. Heads to the far side and then hands off. Strawbridge Jr. sent this one to the near elbow for Coleman. Now in the near corner, spinning down the baseline. Tuomi looking for a shot, and he's got it. Up against Billy Smith. Yassine Tuomi, the Frenchman, finds the first points of the evening, and it's 2-0 Evansville. Billy Smith has it for Miami, top of the key. Will hand off on a short pass to Mirenbaugh. Mirenbaugh back to Smith, wide open on the left elbow. He converts the triple. Billy Smith out of Indianapolis with the first basket of the season for the RedHawks, and it's 3-2 they lead. Just over a minute gone by. Top of the key for Evansville. Tuomi heads to the far side. Coleman from the elbow to the corner. Contested 3 is taken and converted by Yassine Tuomi. Trading threes. Evansville on top 5-3. Safford for Miami finds Ryan Mabry. Hands off to Mirenbaugh just outside the free throw line. Back to the outside for Mabry. Pull-up jumper from the free throw line won't go. Rebound is slapped back out to the midcourt logo where it can be picked up by Miami's Ryan Mabry. Mirenbaugh's now got it driving into the paint with the left hand. Can't get the rim to bounce it his way, and the rebound is picked up by the Aces. Coleman across midcourt sends that one to the far side where Strawbridge Jr. will settle down. Along the far elbow, Tuomi gets a man off, sends to the corner. Coleman, three-pointer is short. Bounces to the near side where it's picked up by Ryan Mabry, who will just trot this one up court for Miami. Mabry off the screen, sends to the near side for Safford. Three-pointer is no good off the front rim, and the rebound is picked up by Saku Cali for Evansville. Coleman across midcourt, contested deep. 3 from Tuomi, clatters home. Yassine Tuomi with 8 of Evansville's 8 points. Aces lead by 5. Miami back on offense. At the logo off the screen, this is Safford. One-hand pass to the corner. Larry for 3. That one hits off the meat of the rim. No good. Rebound tipped out. Miami will take another 3 from Mabry, and that one double bounces. No good as well. Travis Steele said it's a shooting team, but Miami struggling to shoot the ball right now. Couple of chances there. Now on the flip side, Evansville going to fire off a 3 from Tuomi. That one's no good. Rebound bounces all the way out to Coleman. He's got it back now. Thought about the 3 instead. Drives inside. Dumps one off. Shot up is no good from Callie, and the rebound is cleaned up by Strawbridge Jr. Evansville on top by 7. 16:42 to go here in the first half. Makai Larry's got it top of the key for Miami. He hands off to Mirenbaugh. Mirenbaugh going to bully his way towards the basket. Two-handed layup attempt won't go. Miami still struggling to shoot the ball. All the way in transition. Coleman off the glass, and it's good. And Travis Steele already's got to pull the first time out of the pocket with 16:24 to go. Already 12-3 aces.
Really not a great start here for Miami at all. Just looks a little sluggish on the defensive end. Not a lot of urgency closing out and getting to those rebounds. And then on the offensive end, I mean, I get that they're a shooting team, but at some point, especially early in a game, early in a season, you kind of want to try and get those high percentage shots. And at this point, they're just kind of jacking up threes, and it's obviously not working so far. And a couple really nice post moves in the last few minutes from Anderson Mirenbaugh, just not able to get the lid off the basket, but doing a good job getting to it. Yeah,
Mirenbaugh's gotten down low a couple of times, but hasn't gotten them to go. Miami right now 1 for 4 from 3, 1 for 8 from the field, and Evansville out-rebounding the RedHawks 7-3 through the opening 3:36. Aces on top, 12-3 in our first timeout of the evening. So for Miami, we saw a couple of freshmen come in. The only points so far for the RedHawks have come from one of them. Billy Smith hit that triple, the only make so far of the evening for the RedHawks. Evansville shooting the ball well right now, 5 for 8 from the field and 2 for 4 from 3. 8 of their 12 points have come from Yassine Tuomi. And he's been very, very good through the early goings. Tuomi, Division I kickback, played at Arkansas Little Rock, transferred to Indian Hills, prestigious community college in Iowa that's known for pumping out D1 talent in a lot of sports. Played high school in Maine. He's on the Tunisian national team. He was back before moving here to the U.S. Was on their under-18 national team. Averaged 4.5 points per game last season at Indian Hills.
I don't even know where Tunisia is.
Tunisia, somewhere in the Middle East, I believe.
Well, Luke, you mentioned Billy Smith. I'm really excited about this guy. Obviously, Travis Steele trusts him pretty well if he's already starting him in game 1 of his college career. And Billy Smith, when he was playing his senior year in high school last year at Brebeuf Jesuit in Indianapolis, Indiana, he was listed at 6'5". Well, now he's listed at 6'7", and this summer he spent a lot of time defending all 5 positions on the court. Back in high school, he really was solely a perimeter player, but this AAU season, he got a little bit more versatility under his belt on the defensive side. Interested to see what Travis Steele can do with that.
Steele said he was very well coached in high school, really impressed with his development out of Indianapolis. Out of the timeout, Miami has moved quickly down the court, down low. Safford missed the dunk. Great play to thread it down low by Mirenbaugh. He found Safford, who drove the baseline, tried to slam it and couldn't. Now the other way, a right-handed shot is good from Kenny Strawbridge Jr., and things get even better for the Aces. 14-3, just past 4 minutes gone by here in half number 1. Miami in desperate need of life. Left elbow, Smith kicks to the near side. Bryson Tatum, who's fresh in the game, will give it back to Smith. Now top of the key, Morgan Safford trying to work down low. He couldn't do it. Passes off to Mirenbaugh, who's just going to pull up from the free throw line. That one's well short. Mirenbaugh's been good getting down low. He's tried a couple from mid-range, though, and has not been close. Now into the corner, Gage Bobe kicks it back outside for Tolme. Now at the midcourt logo, Strawbridge Jr. hands back to Bobe. And a deep 3 on the left elbow is taken and no good, rebounded by the RedHawks. Tuomi there, he's continued to take those contested shots. They were falling for him early, not that time. Off the screen, Makai Larry's got no space, throws a bullet into the corner. Safford is open, and he can't get it to go. Rebound is wide open, though, on the near elbow for Billy Smith of Miami. Back to Makai Larry. A deep three's no good. RedHawks are 1 for 11 from the field. 14-3 aces. 14:46 and counting to go. Strawbridge Jr.'s got it at the logo, settling down with 15 to shoot. Gets a high ball screen. Lost the ball for a moment, picked it back up at the free throw line. He kicks out now into the high post. It finds its way to Twomey, lost it, and it was on his own. This ball will go to Miami as it heads out of bounds.
Really nice D there from Morgan Safford. Just gets his hand up and gets in that Evansville player's way, forces him to cough up the ball, and that's the type of play Miami's going to need if they want to switch the momentum in this one. And what a disastrous start, as you mentioned. 1 for 11, just really a rough way to start the game, start the season.
Yeah, Travis Steele raved about the competitiveness of Morgan Safford. He's been good defensively so far tonight, but still looking for that first shot to fall in a Miami uniform. Back on offense are the RedHawks. Tatum's got it top of the key, heavily defended. He'll get it back along the near elbow, fires a deep 2, and he gets it to go. Not the prettiest looking shot, but you'll take it. Miami now cuts the lead out of double digits. It's 14-5. Back on offense are the Purple Aces. Coleman finds Smith, then onto the far side. Blaze Beauchamp has it. Now top of the key, he will hand off to Coleman. Slung to the near side where Strawbridge tosses it into the high post, and a shot that goes directly at the rim is rebounded by the RedHawks, Jaquel Morris, the rebound specialist. Back on offense are the RedHawks. Billy Smith has it top of the key. Passing down, it's picked up by Jaquel Morris. Fakes the pass outside, tried to go inside, didn't have a lot of room, put up a high shot off the rim, no good. Rebounded by Callie for the Aces. Strawbridge Jr. will carry it across center court. Coleman to the near side for Strawbridge Jr. again. Now top of the key, working to the far side. This one's handed off to Coleman, kicks to the near elbow. Three-pointer from Beauchamp is long, no good. Rebounded by Morgan Safford for Miami. RedHawks with numbers moving up the floor. Hustling to the basket is Safford, a high shot, no good. Rebounded by Kelly. Now the Evansville side with some numbers going the other way. Pull-up jumper, and that one is not going to go and is rebounded by Billy Smith. Into the corner, tipped pass, finds its way to Morgan Safford, fakes the shot, drives the baseline, and he just stepped out of bounds on his own, was looking for a foul, and he's not going to get it. This will be turned back over to the Aces. Travis Steele said one of the things he wanted to work on after seeing his team in preseason, they needed to do a better job holding on to the ball, and just a careless turnover there from Morgan Safford.
Yeah, and these are the type of plays you kind of expect from a brand new team with a brand new coach in its very first game, but really Miami would love to get these kinks knocked out as soon as possible. I mean, just you do not want to lose the first game of the year, especially to a team like Evansville.
Driving to the baseline, a high shot off the glass is good for Strawbridge Jr. Evansville leads 16-5, 12:29 to go. Wide open lane to the mid-range opens up. Larry's two-pointer is no good. Rebound is battled for, and a jump ball is called. Tied up in there for the Aces. That looked like it was Spinelli, and for Miami, Jaquel Morris.
Who else? Who else would it be?
Who else but Jaquel Morris? 16-5 our score. Aces get the possession.
Luke, you mentioned that Morris led, or that he had 15.6 rebounds in the Bronx last year. Well, he led the Bronx AA League in rebounds and blocks last year. So not only a big guy on the boards, he can send some shots away from the rim too.
Big 6'8" forward for the RedHawks. Miami nearly had Evansville trapped. They're able to get out of it. Strawbridge Jr. kicks to the near side. Beauchamp drives, shot. It goes, and are they going to call the foul on Miami? It looks like they are. And it's going to be an and one. Blaze Beauchamp, who played 30 games for Evansville last season, was their leading returning scorer, averaged 8 points per game last year. Knocks down his first shot, and the Minnetonka, Minnesota native heads to the line. Shot is good. Evansville's really struggled to shoot the free throw. They were just 35% in their scrimmage against Huntington.
That's really bad.
But Evansville doing the right things here tonight. They lead 19-5. Cutting back down the right lane is Larry through the contact, and he gets the roll. Beauchamp was on him that time. Makai Larry only 5'8", but does a nice job to get the ball away. And outside of this timeout, he will shoot one to try and cut the lead down. all aces right now. 19-7 our score with 11:57 to go in half number one. Major adjustments needed for the RedHawks. We'll see what they can do when we come back. This is Miami basketball on Red Hawk Radio. Back here at Millett Hall, Old Purple Aces have jumped on the RedHawks. Evansville leads 19-7 with 11:57 to go here in the first half. Luke West, Poley, Schmelzinger alongside in the season opener for Miami. Good crowd on hand. Travis Steele coaching his first game for the RedHawks. And through the early goings, he's had some work to do on the bench. Miami being out-rebounded right now 13-7. This was a team in Evansville that was the worst rebounding team, in the country last year. Averaged only 27 per game. They've already got 13 through the opening 8 minutes and 3 seconds. Miami's been dominated on the board so far, nearly doubled up. RedHawks 3 for 17 right now from the field, including a 1 for 6 mark from 3. Makai Larry will come out of the timeout to try and finish the three-point play. RedHawks leading scorer among returners, second leading scorer last year. Evansville native. Averaged 13.6 points per game a season ago.
And what a move to the basket it was for Larry. That's really when he's at his best, is when he's just cutting through those lanes. And, I mean, it almost defies explanation how he gets that ball into the hoop, being 5'8", so close to the rim. But he just does it time after time again.
And the 92% free throw shooter knocks it down. 19-8, Miami cuts the lead down to 11. Purple Aces struggling now to get the ball across half court, but they finally do in time. It opens up a look in the corner, and a three-pointer is no good. Rebound is battled for, kicked around, and eventually finds the hands of Ryan Mabry for Miami. Quickly up to Makai Larry, who races across half court. Finds Mabry. Now Mabry back on the near elbow to Larry for three. That one no good. Rebound pops in the air, and leaping up, Antoine Smith Jr., the Westerville native, comes down with it for Evansville. To the far elbow, quick shot is taken, and that one's well short from Antoine Smith. Rebounded by Miami. Heading up the court, Tatum going to try to take it himself, pulls back from mid-range and knocks it down. Bryson Tatum with his first points as a RedHawk. First points this season with 11:02 remaining here. Evansville back on the offensive side. Floater shot goes in and out for Spinelli. Rebound tipped all manner of places. Eventually finds Smith Jr. And with the left hand, he cleans it up. Triple covered. And Antoine Smith Jr. knocks it down. Miami back on offense, down 11 here, approaching the midway mark of half number one. Mabry floating to the near side. Hands it off for Jaquel Morris at the free throw line. Off the screen, Eli Yofin kicks to the near side. Mabry fires a three and connects. Mabry will hit his first shot of the season. Miami trailing by 8 now. High pass is secured in the near corner by Smith Jr. Wide open lane, Spinelli heads down, gets a shot up and misses the backboard and heads out of bounds. And it will be Miami ball with 10:13 to go. RedHawks trailing by 8. Miami starting to find their strides here, Jack.
Yeah, Luke, and you mentioned Bryson Tatum had a really nice little mid-range shot there, and that's a guy that really didn't see much action his first 2 seasons in Oxford, but so far it kind of seems like he's got a featured role in this offense. He's been taking the ball up the floor, getting a lot of touches through the first half of this first half, so it'll be interesting to watch for the rest of this game, maybe even the rest of the season.
Redshirted last year, 5 games played 2 seasons ago. Miami back on offense. Safford on the far elbow tried to thread a pass in that was intercepted by Tuomi for the Aces. Past the midway mark here of half number 1 to the near corner. Bobe kicked all the way around to the far side. We're on the elbow. Smith Jr. secures it in double coverage. He backs up and passes off to the far side. Coleman whips a pass cross court. Secured by Beauchamp, drives the baseline, pulls up, shot no good. Rebounded by Tatum for Miami. Across half court, Tatum directing traffic from the top of the key, gets a screen from Miranbow, opens up a lane for a mid-range look. A shot was well short. He gets his own rebound. Now kicks to the elbow. Safford drives in, kicks to the far side, and Mabry's three won't go. Rebound secured under the basket by Miranbow, and he cleans it up. Exhaustive possession, and the RedHawks end up with 2 points. They now trail by 6. Quick transition three is off the mark, and the rebound for the RedHawks. Maybe ill-advised there from Gage Bobe, 24% three-point shooter, pardon me. Tried to catch the RedHawks off guard with a deep three, and it wouldn't work for him. At the top of the key, handed off, it's Miranbow. He will hand now to Safford. Miranbow gets it back. He's going to take the three, and it's no good. Tried the big man three. That won't go for him. Beauchamp got the rebound in space. And now Evansville sets up the offense. Coleman, heavily marked up by Mabry, gets the screen that opens up some space along the near side. Now he kicks to the top of the key. A stutter step and a travel called on Yassine Tuomi. Lead has been cut down to 6. It'll be Miami basketball. They've got the possession arrow. Each team with 1 foul. Evansville still got all their timeouts. Miami had to use one early after a disastrous first couple of minutes. RedHawks have found their stride and cut this lead down to 2 possessions. Off the restart, Larry passed it off to Miranbow. Now Miranbow finds Mabry. Miranbow gets it back along the baseline and just dribbled it off his foot out of bounds. Tried to work in the post. He's got some power, you can see it. He's doing a good job to drive to the hoop. That time just a little too much in the arms as it was hit off the foot of Miranbow.
Yeah, it's been high highs and low lows so far for Miranbow.
Evansville back on offense. Top of the key. Shot is taken, and that's an air ball by Coleman. It'll head out of bounds. Evansville's trying to put the pedal to the metal right now with some of these shots in transition. They fell for them early, but things starting to catch up to them, it seems, Jack.
Yeah, Miami just playing a little bit more within themselves on defense. It seems like maybe calmed down by that timeout that Travis Steele took. And, I mean, when they're in the faces of these Evansville guys, it's hard to imagine that they're going to be continue making shots at the clip that they were earlier in this game.
Makai Larry tried to run to the near side, and he was fouled. And so it will be RedHawk ball along the near sideline when we return from this break. 7:59 to go. It'll be Miami ball when we come back. 21-15. The lead is dwindling for the Purple Aces. This is Miami basketball on RedHawk Radio. (21-15) our score back here in Millett Hall. 7:59 to go in half number 1. Evansville leading Miami, but the RedHawks on a bit of a run. 10-2 is the mark in the last 4:11. Evansville scoreless in the last 2:44. RedHawks, you could say they played poorly early in this game, Jack, but you almost felt like things would get a little more even once they started to get their shots to fall after just an atrocious start from the field, and that's certainly been the case. Yeah,
it really has, and you kind of thought that Evansville was going to start missing a few more shots, too, because it really felt like they were on to start that game, and they have also started missing a few of those shots. And I think considering how this game started, this is really not a bad spot for Miami to be. They have a great chance to be back tied in this game within a minute, 2 minutes. It really could be pretty quick here for these RedHawks.
Not a bad start at all. Miami, a team that finished 7th in the MAC last season, but 5-2 in non-conference home games. That was an area where they were really, really strong in an otherwise rather mediocre season. Season number 117 for the Miami RedHawks.
It's a lot of seasons.
And if you want to check that, they've got the results on the Miami website dating all the way back to the beginning of the program. It's pretty exciting stuff. If you ever have wondered if teams could score 30 points and win basketball games, I would invite you to go back and look at some of those games from the early 1900s.
I can't even imagine some of the weird stuff you would see, even just looking at the box scores.
Yeah, it's got to be just crazy stuff. Out of the timeout, threaded in from Safford to Mirenbaugh, who will hand it right back. Safford's got it. Now he'll kick to the far side where a contested three is taken by Billy Smith, and it's off the mark. Rebound leaped up for, and Coleman will come down with it for Evansville. Coleman quickly up the floor, directing traffic now, heads down the right lane, and he will be called for an offensive foul. Good draw there from Makai Larry, and the RedHawks will get it right back with 7:41 to go. First foul called there on Marvin Coleman, and the Purple Aces turn it over. 5 turnovers in the game for Evansville. Safford looking for an option on the near elbow. He finds Mabry, who tries to drive down the perimeter. Spinning now, looking for an option outside, and he traveled. Some stutters on both sides early on, and it certainly looks like an early season game, Jack, with some of the mistakes that we're seeing.
Yeah, it really does. Just pretty sloppy basketball going on down there. Like you said, probably wouldn't expect much else in this game.
Down the lane, a floater shot was taken by Strawbridge Jr. That was no good, but he was fouled. Kind of an awkward-looking play, almost one of those slow-motion falls that he kind of took a fadeaway shot at. Shot was nowhere close, but that'll earn you a trip to the free throw line and 2 shots. We talked about Evansville's free throw woes, worst team in the Missouri Valley in that category last year, shooting just 70%. Strawbridge Jr. gets the first one to clatter home. From the free throw line, Evansville now 2 for 2, though, tonight.
That's pretty good.
After their 36% mark, David Ragland was asked about it in the press conference as he connects now with the second one to make it a 23-15 ball game. And he said, I swear we're working on it every single day in practice. After the mark last year, after the early season woes in the exhibitions, and certainly paying off here tonight. Down low, Mirenbaugh with a turnaround shot, and that's easy money. Anderson Mirenbaugh's hand was about 2 inches from the basket when he let go of the ball. And that'll cut the lead right back to 6.
Yeah,
7 minutes to go here in the first half.
He looks like a ballerina down there. What flight feet from the big man. I mean, just really impressive stuff.
Off the screen, no room opened up for Coleman. He finds Bobe, and now it's on the far side for the Aces. Strawbridge Jr. has got it. Back to Bobe on the near elbow. Coleman sends it down low. Callie drives the baseline, and he lost it. Picked off by Miami's Morgan Safford. Safford moved up with speed. Now he slows down. Hand off down the lane and through contact. No roll there for Mirenbaugh. Nearly an and one as that one kissed the inside of the rim. But instead it will be 2 free throws for the big man, Anderson Mirenbaugh. And the second foul for Evansville will be called. Beg your pardon, 4th team foul, 2nd personal foul on Kelly. First free throw off the front of the rim, no good from Mirenbaugh.
Mirenbaugh shot 47% from the charity stripe last year at Cleveland State. It's only had about 20 attempts, but still not a great clip for Mirenbaugh. He misses his first one of the year.
Callie, the Akron transfer, comes out. Preston Phillips will replace him for Evansville. Second free throw is right through. 5-point lead for the Purple Aces with 6:31 to go in the half. Across half court, some trouble. Ball's loose on the floor, picked up by Bobe, and Evansville dodges a bullet. Bobe's got it back now, top of the key. One-hand pass to the far side on the baseline, up and under, and a blocking foul is called as the roll did not go. That was Yassine Tuomi once again, and the Frenchman will head to the line.
and Luke Anderson-Mierenbauer, a really nice presence in the middle of this Miami defense, but I think we kind of saw what might be some of his kryptonite there. He gets switched out onto the perimeter, and really just an easy time by Tomey to get right to the basket. Really didn't have to put up much of a fight at all.
Tomey can't connect on the first free throw. Really nice evasiveness shown by Tomey on that up and under layup attempt. Nearly got the roll. He decided to touch it after the play was blown dead to try and knock it in, but he might have been able to get it if he let it roll out. Second free throw is good.
I think they hear you down there.
Here is Makai Larry to the near side, try to send a pass through, and it hit off the foot of Coleman, so it'll be Miami ball. With 6:11 to go here in the first half, RedHawks trailing by 6. Travis Steele directing traffic from the far side. Steele in his first year here at Miami after coming over from the nearby Xavier Musketeers. Larry will inbound from the baseline. High ball that is secured out near half court by Safford, who will settle down for the RedHawks. Coleman with the hands up on him. Miami kicks all the way around the arc to the far corner. Tatum's got it. I beg your pardon, that's Larry. Little jiggle move, and he sends that one through on the mid-range attempt. Miami's cut the lead to 4. This is the smallest it's been since Evansville opened it up. Coleman trying to direct traffic from the logo. Larry giving him problems as he heads to the near side. Now around to the far elbow. Driving is Strawbridge Jr. with a left-handed layup. He gets it to go. Athletic play from Kenny Strawbridge Jr., the journeyman through many schools. On the offensive side, Tatum lost it. Turned over to Bobe, who will now secure it and settle down for Evansville. Strawbridge Jr. from the near side with his back turned. He's got Larry on him. Kicks to the far corner. Dangerous pass. Eventually it finds Bobe, and he connects on the 3. Gage Bobe out of Vincennes, Indiana. One of the leaders in terms of most games played among Evansville returners with 43. Will put the Aces out in front by 9. Mierenbauer passes off to Billy Smith. Driving down the left lane. He's blocked. Tuomi had the stuff. Now a 2-on-1 the other way. And mowing a man down. A blocking foul is called on Bryson Tatum. Yassine Tuomi was driving down the lane. He had Coleman with him. Decided to take it himself and kind of turn it into a de facto 1-on-1. And that ball eventually got threaded through to Coleman, who ran into the Miami defender in Tatum. Coleman at the line now. Coleman, the UNLV transfer. Can't get the first one. Clangs it off the iron. Played 4 years for the Rebels before grad transferring here. Had the first triple-double in 20 years for that historic program against New Mexico State a couple years ago, but only averaged 2.5 points per game over his career. Second free throw rolls its way in, and the Aces lead by 10 with 4:44 to go. A whole host of substitutions will enter the game. Antoine Smith and Blaise Beauchamp back in for the Aces. Miami going with the same look.
Luke, Travis Steele really mixing it up with his lineups so far in this one. He's already had, looks like 8 different guys out on the floor, including Eli Johan, the walk-on, who's got the ball right now.
Yofin had it, and now calling for it back. Instead for Miami, it'll be Jaquel Morris. Finds Safford, now back to the near corner. Yofin's 3 is no good. Rebounded for Evansville, and now they will head across half court. Beauchamp's got it along the near sideline. Marked up by Eli Yofin out of Pittsburgh. And now holding on to it is Strawbridge Jr. Strawbridge Jr. driving down the baseline, sends an awkward pass out to the far elbow that finds the target. Now back move to the near side. This is Gabe Spinelli. Spinelli with a tip pass out to half court. Beauchamp secures it. 4 minutes to go here in the first half. Deep 3 with 3 to shoot is way off the mark, and the rebound is picked up by Morgan Safford. Up court, Safford has it near side. One hands it over to Tatum. Tatum finds Eli Yofin. Yofin all the way across the court draws the foul as he puts up the layup off the bottom of the backboard. And Eli Yofin will head to the line. Eli, one of those freshmen, 6'2", one of the smallest guys, would you believe it, on this team. 1,000-point scorer in high school, Western Pennsylvania champ, averaged nearly 20 points per game. And he will head to the free throw line to try and put this lead back in single digits when we return. 3:44 to go here in the first half, and a back-and-forth affair since the early goings. You're listening to Miami Basketball here on Red Hawk Radio. Back here at Millett Hall, 3:44 to go. Miami trailing Evansville 30-20 here on opening night of this 2022-23 season. Very excited to have college basketball back in Oxford. And Jack, really can't remember a time where there was more excitement around this team. It's really been a long time. It's rare you get a head coach hiring like the one you got in the offseason.
Yeah, right. I mean, we keep touching on it, but it really is kind of extraordinary that, like you said, the timing worked out so perfectly, and Travis Steele just seems like the perfect guy for this program. I mean, he seems a little overqualified, to be honest, but we'll definitely take it.
Absolutely. Eli Yofin at the line, and he knocks the first free throw down out of the timeout to cut the lead to 9. Yofin, the Pittsburgh native, walk-on here for the RedHawks. Will not be able to get the bounce on the second one. It's rebounded by Evansville, and the lead will stay at 9. Aces with trouble getting into cross half court, but they finally do. Cross court pass to the near side is leaped for, but caught by Strawbridge Jr. Now Strawbridge Jr. and one-on-one with Makai Larry. Gets a screen, still has a man in his face. This time it's Morris, able to dump one off, and Phillips found his way in and slammed it down. Phillips with a really nice perimeter move and had the stuff. 11-point Evansville lead. Safford bouncing it to Morris. Morris holding on, now finds Safford on the far side. Safford driving in, kicks to the near elbow, and a three-pointer is good from Eli Yofin.
Interesting to see that we can walk on taking so many shots early. I guess Travis Steele really trusts this guy, giving him the green light to shoot that basketball. Absolutely.
Lead is at 8. Open three is no good from Evansville Strawbridge Jr. And it's rebounded by Makai Larry trying to go quick. He stuttered. Now Yofin down low, up and under, and he gets it to go. My goodness, Eli Yofin, what a game he's having as Yofin is up to 6 points. To the near side, Smith Jr. with a floater. That'll go for him. Evansville balloons the lead back out to 8.
Miami really needs to play some complementary basketball here. They need some stops and some scores, and need them to happen around the same time.
Approaching 2 minutes. Now we've hit the 2-minute mark left in this first half. Larry on the drive, threads it low for Safford. Fake shot. 4 guys on him, and he got the shot and one. Morgan Safford will head to the line, and the Columbus native looks to complete the three-point play. Miami's got the lead down to 6. It's 34-28 with 1:56 to go. And you just see the grittiness there of Morgan Safford. He had 4 purple jerseys around him and still found a way.
Yeah, and you think about it, Morgan Safford and Anderson Mirambo, they've only been here since June, but they're both team captains on this young RedHawk team. So really, that's probably all you need to know about the leadership capabilities and the character of those 2 guys down there.
Safford, the redshirt junior, will knock the free throw down, and the lead is 5, 34-29, Evansville with 1:55 to go. Across half court, Bobe into the near corner. He finds Strawbridge Jr. Jab step, he's got Mirambow on him, trying to get around him with the left hand. It rolls off the near side of the rim. Rebound is tapped up by Phillips, and that won't go. RedHawks have it. Larry on the rebound, up court. Larry gave it off, but then got it right back on the near elbow. Larry tries a quick move. That won't work. Now a second try. He finds down low Safford. Shot up, and he will be fouled. Didn't find anything. It was an air ball, but the defense caught the arm there of Morgan Safford. And the Wofford College transfer will head back to the line with Miami now shooting the bonus. It will be 2 shots for Morgan Safford. The chance to cut this lead down to 1 possession, but the first free throw is off the iron, no good. It's a Miami team that led the MAC last year in free throw shooting, one of the real bright spots for the Miami offense.
And as a Miami fan, you got to be happy about that. I mean, how frustrating is it to watch your team just miss free throws after free throws? Thankfully, seems like something we're probably not going to have to be subjected to with this Miami squad this year.
RedHawks 5 for 8 now in the game after the make by Safford on the second free throw. 4-point lead for the Purple Aces. Under a minute 30 to go now. Tuomi to the far elbow. Strawbridge Jr. floats back to the near side. Smith Jr. has it now, tries to float it into the post. Tuomi pulled down with it. Foul is called. No shot is given as Tuomi put it up, but it will be called on the RedHawks. Miami has done a good job, though, staying out of foul trouble. That's only the 5th team foul for the RedHawks. That will be called on Bryson Tatum. And so no shots for Evansville. They've got 20 to shoot now with an inbound on the baseline with 1:11 to go. Coleman will take the inbound and just gives a quick pass off. Smith Jr. double covered along the baseline. He is stuffed, and that one goes out of bounds. Morgan Safford with the tipped pass there, and the RedHawks bench on their feet to salute the grit there. Morgan Safford, 16 to shoot now for the Aces with 1:06 to go. They'll have an inbound that'll be taken this time by Yassine Tuomi on the near sideline. Aces lead by 4 here in the late goings of this first half. Strawbridge, their leading scorer, with 10. Coleman gets the inbound. Tried to head down the lane. There was no room for him. Instead, he kicks to Strawbridge Jr. Strawbridge Jr. fires a bullet to the near side, secured by Bobe. Strawbridge Jr. opens up a long 2-look, and he connects. Foot was on the line, so it'll only be 2 points, but Strawbridge Jr. now with 12 in the game. Under a minute to go, 43 seconds and counting. Miami trailing by 6. Larry's got it, top of the key. Looking for options, open look on the near elbow. Smith's three-pointer, is short. And it's rebounded for Evansville by Strawbridge Jr., who will just slowly trot across the line. And it's a use it or lose it timeout that will be called by Evansville. Shot clock and game clock separated by about 4 or 5 seconds. 28.6 to go. 24 to shoot for the Aces, so Miami will likely get another possession. But got to think Evansville's going to want to slow things down here, something that they have not really done all game. It's been very, very quick moving for Evansville so far.
Yeah, it really, really has. They've been pedal to the metal all game, like you said, and this is a really big possession for Miami. It would be super nice for them to get a stop here and maybe even get some points on the board. Going into halftime with a 3 or 4 point lead is a lot better than going in with an 8 or 9 point deficit. 3 or 4 point deficit, a lot better than an 8 or 9 point deficit.
Evansville shooting 45% from the field right now. Miami 33. Not great for the RedHawks, but a lot better considering what happened early on in this one. RedHawks were 1 for their first 8.
Yeah, and usually early in basketball seasons, it kind of seems like shooting takes a little bit of time to catch up to everything else, so it's not too surprising that both teams tonight having a little bit of trouble making their jumpers.
Travis Steele directing traffic inbound on the far sideline. We'll go to the backcourt for Evansville where Marvin Coleman is there. Coleman's heavily guarded up by Makai Larry. Now it comes to the near side where Gage Bobe has the basketball for Evansville. Top of the key, this is Tuomi. And off the screen, a look opened up for Strawbridge Jr. His three is short. RedHawks are going to let it head out of bounds. And with 10.2 to go, Miami will have an inbound. Travis Steele is hot on the near sideline with the man who's inbounding it, Billy Smith. They'll roll it up court. And with 7 seconds to go at the top of the key, it's Makai Larry. Larry down the left lane gets the foul as he floats one up with 2.9 to go. And Makai Larry will head to the free throw line for Miami. 2 for 7 now from the field is Makai. He's got 5 points. But it will be the second trip to the free throw line for Miami's leader and fifth-year senior here with 2.9 to go with the chance to cut this lead down to potentially as low as 4. Larry, a great free throw shooter, 85% on the career, 92% last year. That led the RedHawks. First free throw is good.
And that is just a ridiculous clip on the free throws for Makai Larry. I mean, you see a lot of NBA guards aren't shooting that high from the free throw line.
36-31. Larry lining up for free throw number 2. He's 2 for 2 in the game so far. And make it 3 for 3. Couple of swishes. Chance for Evansville to maybe beat the buzzer here. They'll get a quick one in. Strawbridge Jr. carries up to half court, and he won't even get a shot off as this one expires. And half number 1 has come to an end from Millett Hall. 36-32 is our score. Evansville leads Miami. Jack, not an ideal start by any means for the RedHawks, but really grew into this game, it seems. And given the start that you had, got to be happy you're down only 4 at the break.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly a great point. The RedHawks would definitely take this. They're obviously still in this game, and it's been pretty fun to watch so far. It's been cool to see how much they're spreading the ball around. They've got 7 different guys with 3 or more points. Eli Yofin, the walk-on freshman, has 6 points, 2 for 3 shooting, and it's been pretty fun to watch so far. We'll see how they can do in the second half, and you know Travis Steele would like to come away from his first game as head coach with a win.
Makai Larry, the leading scorer for the RedHawks in the half with 7. For Evansville, it was Kenny Strawbridge who had 12. He was followed closely by Yassine Tuomi, who knocked down a pair of early triples that led him to a 9-point performance in the first half. We have reached halftime. It's time for the halftime report. Here is Zach Rengers.
Thank you, Luke. Great first half, guys. Obviously not what the Miami RedHawks were looking for, probably looking to get out to a bigger lead, but nonetheless, I think there's a lot you can build on from that first half for the RedHawks. Obviously, you go down early. You didn't have it shooting on the offensive end. You kind of looked like you were stagnant, trying to make something happen. Still very much a team that is learning the ropes. Coach Steele is getting to know these players better, getting to learn how to use them in game better. I think the players are learning to play together right now. So an unideal first half, but certainly feels like you're still in this if you're Miami. Only down 4 at the break. Got a lot to build on, and you do have some work to do. It's not any secret in that fact that there is a lot of work to do. But when you look at the team breakdown for this game, obviously the Aces had 36 points. The RedHawks had 32. In terms of field goals, Evansville was 14 for 32 in the first half. That was, of course, a better percentage than Miami's 11 for 33. But still, you can see the similarities there of both those teams being very similar in terms of how they were shooting. From 3, both teams were identical, 3 for 14. It certainly felt like earlier Evansville was a lot hotter from behind the arc, but both end up with 3 for 14, at a 21.4% clip. From the free throw line, Miami is actually outperforming the Purple Aces, at a 5. Evansville, is at 5 of 7, and Miami at 7 of 10. Obviously, that helps a lot when you've got a 90% free throw shooter to really help that average if you're Miami. On the rebounds, obviously, Evansville is outgaining Miami right now, 23 to 18. Offensive rebounds is knotted up at 5. I'm sure Coach Steele saw a couple opportunities for Miami to grab a few more offensive rebounds in there, and I certainly think that that's going to be something that's drawn up on the board going into the break as well. There's been 2 lead changes in this game. Obviously, it seems like Miami is kind of getting right back to there at 36 to 32, but it certainly feels like they're going to need to put together a nice opening part to the second half if they want to gain the lead in this game and not give it up to Evansville, who's playing really well right now. Evansville has actually led this game for 18 minutes and 43 seconds. The largest lead has been 14 points for Evansville, but luckily Miami has been able to chip away. Their largest lead has only been 1 point. In terms of assists, Evansville has 3, Miami has 6, so you got to like that. If you're a RedHawks fan, you are distributing the ball well, and you're actually not turning the ball over as much as Evansville is. They've got 6 turnovers to Miami's 5, and Miami's got 10 points off the bench to their 9. But nonetheless, this game is certainly neck and neck right now. Neither of these teams is out of it. Evansville played an amazing first half. I'm sure a lot better than they were expecting to come out. Came out firing at Millett Hall, and I think Miami recognizes that it was a slow start, but you're not in no way out of it. Now let's look at some of the individual totals for each of these teams. We saw Yassine Tomi had a great first half for this Evansville Purple Aces squad, had 12 points, played 17 minutes for that group, had a 75% field goal percentage at 3 for 4, and he was pretty good from the line as well. We also see Strawberry leads the team Strawbridge, that is, leads the team in points right now with 12. One of the guys we talked about off air with Luke, he was saying he's kind of on his 3rd time transferring. It just seems like one of those guys that's just bounced around the nation in terms of the different colleges he's attended, but finally might have found his spot here at Evansville. Looks like to be very comfortable part of this offense. We see a lot of guys with 13 minutes, that be Tomi and Bobe. Obviously, both those players played a good amount for this Evansville team, and they're going to need them to play that role. The one thing that you can look at if you're Miami, you checked into the bonus at the end of the first half, actually drew a lot of fouls, almost checked in to the double bonus. 8 fouls in the first half, 3 guys with 2 personals. We see Coleman with that, Callie with that, and Phillips with that total of fouls. So obviously you're not loving that if you're Evansville. Obviously, you want to keep your players in the game, and you can't do that if they've got to sit out with foul trouble. Luckily for Miami, not in any type of foul trouble at all. You got 2 guys with 2 fouls and 1 guy with 1, so only 5 total fouls, and you've gotten some scoring all around the board. Really, when you look at this stat sheet from Miami, no one player really sticks out. The leading scorer is actually Larry with 7, but obviously that can be attributed to his trips to the charity stripe. Other than that, you can see guys with 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4. So really a team effort to this spot. And credit to Yofan, who came off the bench. We mentioned he's a walk-on this team, Eli Yofan, and he's played a great first half. Obviously got some clutch buckets when they needed. He's at 2 for 3 in field goal percentage, and he's at 1 for 2 from the line. So you'd like to see him capitalize on those free throws, but nonetheless, very good first half from the walk-on in Yofan. Obviously, we saw Tatum play a little bit in that half. That's Bryson Tatum. He had some points early. He's only got 4 coming into the break. He's shooting 2 for 3 in terms of field goals right now. The main 2 guys that were on the floor the most was Larry. He had 20 minutes on the floor, and Morgan Safford, who had 18. Safford's also got 4 points in this one. He's 1 for 5 from field goals. I'm sure Safford would be the first to tell you that he could have hit a couple of those shots on the offensive end. Wish he did. But nonetheless, Miami staying in this one, only down 4 at the break. We're going to take a quick break here on the halftime report. We'll be back with our scoreboard session, looking into the MAC scores around the nation, and then into the top 25, seeing some of this college hoops action. Like we said in the pregame for the women's show, a day that is heralded as one of the national holidays for some people, the day that college hoops finally kicks off. We've got action all around the country, and it truly has been a great day seeing both Miami RedHawks squads take on their opponents here at Millett Hall, and now we're finally getting into the back half of this. We're getting into the back half of the day, seeing some of these scores go final, seeing some of the late tips tip off. Should be a great day. We'll be back with Scoreboard here in a second. And we're back here on Red Hawk Radio, our scoreboard session, looking at the MAC. Big one to look at right now. Upset alert. Illinois Springfield on top of Northern Illinois right now, 68-58. That game's got 7:03 left in the second. We saw Illinois Springfield lead very early in that one in the pregame of this half, but it certainly seems like Northern Illinois a little shaky on their home floor right now, going to have to pull up a nice upset down the stretch against Illinois Springfield after going down in this one. Our game at halftime, 36-32, Evansville on top of Miami of Ohio. Obviously, we broke that down. Miami's still very much in this game. Just got to get it going on the offensive end. We heard Jack say that Travis Steele talked about this team as a shooting team. They were unable to really get that shooting going in the first half, but it certainly feels like they're right on the cusp of something big happening for this program and this team right now. They could certainly hit a couple clutch shots and be right back in this one coming out of the halftime. Then Western Michigan taking on Minnesota. That game very close right now. Minnesota up 22-20, however, with 3:44 left in the first half. The other games in the MAC have gone final. Eastern Michigan beats Wayne State 75-66 at Eastern Michigan. That was a nice game for Eastern Michigan to pick up. They moved to 1-0 on the year. Belmont beats Ohio in a game that Ohio certainly felt like they should have won, but nonetheless, Belmont gets a win on their home floor against the Bobcats. That by a score of 70-69. A heartbreaker there for the Bobcats of Ohio. We see Valparaiso dropped one, only 85-70. So nonetheless, thought it would be a bigger margin than that for a highly heralded Toledo team as one of the teams that are certainly a favorite to win the MAC according to the coaches poll, and Toledo picks up a win. They are 1-0 at home, 1-0 on the season with that 15-point victory. Earlham gets blown out by Ball State 109-39 in that final. Ball State moves to 1-0. Akron beats South Dakota State in what was a thriller as well, 81-80 over the Jackrabbits. That was a good game for Akron to move to 1-0. Colgate over Buffalo, 88-87. That game was one where Buffalo was down big coming out of the halftime, and they got it done. So a lot of thrillers here in the MAC thus far. Kent State picks up a win over Northern Kentucky, 79-57. Air Force loses one to Bowling Green by 4 points, 62-58. Now looking at some of the top 25 scores, obviously not much you expect in the top 25. No real upsets just yet, but we'll kind of highlight. Duke wins one over Jacksonville. Dayton beats Lindenwood. North Colorado losing big time, 70-32 under Houston. Kansas finally got it together. They were knotted up early with Omaha, and they were able to pull away in that one. It's now 83-57 for the Jayhawks. Arkansas up 62-47 over North Dakota State. TCU finally regains the lead. It's now 60-57 over Arkansas Pine Bluff. That game in the late stages of the second half, Auburn up pretty big of 15 points over George Mason. That score at 58-43, late stages of the second as well there. Creighton, how about this? The a team that was talked about easily winning the Big East and could easily be a top 3, 4, 5 seed maybe coming into the playoffs, is tied up with St. Thomas, Minnesota. 49-49 the score there in Omaha. So that could be a game that you talk about going forward for Creighton, just not getting off on the right foot. They're knotted up with St. Thomas, Minnesota. Alabama up 34-26 at halftime over Longwood. North Carolina only beating UNC Wilmington 21-17. That one approaching halftime for the Tar Heels. Gonzaga taking on North Florida. They're up 42-18. Texas over UTEP 23-12. That one approaching halftime. North Carolina Central only losing by 10 to Virginia, who's number 18 in the country. That one with just about 4 minutes left in the first half. Eastern Illinois trailing by 11 to number 23 Illinois. That one with 5:45 left in the first. In Lubbock, Northwestern State losing 24-15 with 7:28 left in the first half. Arizona up 14-2 over Nichols. And at 10 o'clock, we'll have Oregon, Florida A&M, Cal State Fullerton, San Diego State. At 11:30, we'll have UCLA, Sacramento State. And the games that have gone final are Baylor 117 over Mississippi Valley State 53, Kentucky 95, Howard 63, Villanova wins a fairly close one, closer than they might have liked it to be, 81-68 against LaSalle. Purdue Fort Wayne drops one to number 22 Michigan at a score of 75-56. Tennessee beats Tennessee Tech 75-43, and our final game in the top 25, number 13 Indiana beats Morehead State 88-53. That'll do it for our scoreboard segment. We're just about set for second half action here from Millett Hall. We'll turn it back over to the normal broadcast crew. Luke and Jack will have you the rest of the way, and I'll be back for the post-game recap. Hopefully, talking about a post-game win for Miami coming back here against the Purple Aces. I'll send it over to Luke. Thanks for listening to Halftime Report.
Zach, thank you very much. Luke West-Poley, Jack Schmelzinger alongside, back for half number 2 of action here from Millett Hall. Miami trailing by 4 at the break, 36-32 is our score. It was a miserable start, to say the least, for the RedHawks coming out of the locker room, Jack, the first time. However, things got better as it went on, and it really felt as if Evansville kind of shot themselves in the foot a bit with some poor shot selection later on in that first half after connecting with all but one, I should say, of their first 3 3-pointers, 2 for 3. They are 1 for their last 11 behind the arc, and they find themselves in just a 4-point game despite that hot start.
Yeah, you're completely right, Luke. And looking at the stats, it kind of seems like maybe Miami didn't even start playing that much better. Maybe Evansville just started missing shots. Like you said, Miami's still only shooting 33% from the field, 21% from 3. So definitely going to look to improve on that here in the second half.
RedHawks with possession to begin things here in the second half. Mackay Larry controlling at the top of the key to the near elbow. Safford lofts it into the post. Mirambeau goes down to work. Off the glass with the right hand, he finishes. Anderson Mirambeau has cut this lead down to 2, which is the smallest that it has been. Miami has not yet tied the game. On the far side, controlling for Evansville is Gage Bobe, the senior guard. Works his way to the near end of the court. Now Coleman tried to cut down low. He was blocked off. Now he's double teamed, nowhere to go. Able to slip one outside to the half-court logo where the ball eventually finds on the far side. Strawbridge Jr. working his way to the basket, and he knocks it down. 38-34 as the teams trade a pair of twos early on. Approaching a minute gone by here in the second half. At the top of the key, controlled by Billy Smith. Bounced it in for Mirambeau. Mirambeau back to Smith on the near flank. Smith weaving his way through, back behind with the right hand. It goes off the glass and in.
What a creative finish from Smith. Really impressive stuff from the freshman in his first career game.
Had his back turned to the backboard, still found a way to put that one home. Contested 3 taken and knocked down by Gage Bobe. And Evansville able to find that 3 ball once again, and they lead by 5 after a poor showing in the later part of that first half. Ryan Mabry's got it for Miami, trying to battle his way in. Instead, he'll pass off for Mirambeau. Double team, Mirambeau runs a man over. That'll be a charge. As for Evansville, wearing it was Saku Kaliu, who got into some foul trouble early on and was pulled from the game. He had 2 fouls in the opening minutes. Did not see a lot of time in the later part of that second half. And so now he will get his team the ball back with 18:23 to go, and Evansville on top by 5.
Yeah, Luke, and Anderson Mirambeau is going to have to be a little bit careful here this season for the RedHawks. He's just such a big body that you got to assume that it's going to be an easy guy to draw fouls against.
So with Evansville on offense, the attempted drive was shut down from Coleman. He's got it on the outside now to the far corner. Driving in is Tuomi, spinning around, and he puts that one up and over. It's no good. And the rebound by Morgan Safford for Miami. Safford to the far wing. Smith finds Mirambeau at the free throw line. Mirambeau slips one down low. Safford goes over his head and finds it into the basket. That'll go. 38 Miami, 41 Evansville, with the Aces on top by 3 now. An awkward handoff attempt, but reaching in, Mackay Larry's going to be called for the foul. Preston Phillips, the Elkhart, Indiana native, had that one just along the far flank and tried to hand it off, kind of crashed into Gage Bobe there, and Makai Larry tried to pull that ball free and wasn't able to do so and was whistled for the foul. Pass back out to half court. Miami wants it over and back call. They're not going to get it. Bench shot up to their feet as Coleman drives down the left lane now with the left hand, and he gets an offensive foul call, I believe, or rather an and one. And it will be an and one. Tough to see. Our view of the official was blocked there, but it will be a basket made. And a trip to the free throw line now awarded to Marvin Coleman. Travis Steele frustrated with the official. Coleman kind of played that ball, it looked like right on the line at center court. He'll knock the free throw down.
And it didn't even look like Mirembo's feet left the floor, so I don't know about that one.
So out to the top of the key, Miami controlling. They find themselves in a 6-point hole, 44-38. Mirembo's got it along the perimeter. Mirembo just slowly working his way in. Mirembo fakes with the right, turns around, and puts it in. He's a big man, but he's got some moves down low. Anderson Mirembo for the RedHawks is up to 9 points in the game.
I have never seen a man that big move that gracefully.
And a three-pointer to respond on the far side. Strawbridge Jr. will knock it in. So Evansville inching this lead back out to what it once was. It now stands at 7. Mirembo hands off, open look for Billy Smith for three, and that goes in and out. Unlucky there from Billy Smith. Put that right where it needed to be, but just couldn't get that one to clatter home. Quick three on the far side is no good from Coleman. Rebound is battled for, picked up by Callie for the Aces. Down low, that one goes off a leg of a RedHawk. And Morgan Safford disagrees, but right now it's going to be Evansville basketball. It is a reviewable play, but it looks like we're just going to play on. Quick inbound on the baseline. Getting it right back under the basket as Coleman kicks to the near corner. Bobe open corner three. That one too strong. And rebounded by Mirembo right into his arms. To the far side, Safford will run it up the court. The point guard for the RedHawks comes off the screen. Now to the far corner. Smith lifts it into the post where Mirembo can go to work. Mirembo backing towards the basket. Right hand high finish. Anderson Mirembo into double digits.
Starting to wonder how this guy wasn't getting minutes at Cleveland State this year. I mean, he's a menace with his back to the basket right now.
47-42, Evansville on top. Aces looking for a response down low. A blocking foul is called as Saku Callie ran into Morgan Safford, and Safford will be whistled for it. For Safford, that's his first personal. RedHawks bench just kind of froze looking at the officials now. Travis Steele's walking all the way out to the logo in the middle of the court. He's not happy, but it will take us to immediate timeout. And Evansville will have the ball when we come back. Back and forth we go from Millett Hall. 47-42, Aces lead with 15:53 to go here in the second half. This is Miami basketball on Red Hawk Radio. $15:53 to go here in the second half, and this one remaining close. 200 games going on, exactly 200 around college basketball throughout the afternoon and evening here on opening night. And Jack, opening night in college basketball, synonymous with blowouts, synonymous with lopsided efforts, and this certainly is not one of them we've got here tonight.
Yeah, we're lucky here in Oxford. There were a lot of games we heard on that halftime report, the scoreboard, that we're just really not competitive at all. This one is super competitive. And I mean, Luke, the feeling of walking home today and seeing college basketball on the TV, it's just an unbelievable feeling. I mean, I guess it's matched from, you know, the start of every other sports season, but college basketball really is just a really great time.
Yeah, college basketball is a fun one, especially because you know, too, that there's probably going to be sports on now pretty much every day until late March.
Literally whenever you want to watch it.
Yeah, you certainly love to see from east to west coast and beyond, all the way to the Hawaiian Islands. On the baseline, Evansville will inbound. They're able to slip one through that Strawbridge Jr., I beg your pardon, Twomey was able to pick up in space. Strawbridge Jr. has it now. Larry guarding him. Strawbridge Jr. all the way around everybody. He couldn't get the roll in athletic play to get to the basket, but the rebound picked up by the RedHawks. A bullet to the near side was secured with one hand by Ryan Mabry. The freshman with a senior on him, Engage Bobe, will head back out towards the middle. Mabry controlling top of the key. Sends one down at the free throw line. Jaquel Morris in the high post. Hands one off. Mabry kicks to the corner. Smith with a fake three. Now will pull up from mid-range with 8 to shoot, and he knocks it down. RedHawks trailing by only 3 now. Strawbridge Jr. out to the logo where he finds his man Coleman. Now Strawbridge Jr. has it back now. 2-on-2 in some tight space. The ball eventually finds Callie in the corner. Now on the flank, Twomey guarded by Morris. Twomey beats him down the baseline and lays the slam. You've seen Twomey with his first points of the second half. He's got 11 in the game now. 14:40 to go here in the second half. Miami trailing by 5. Makai Larry with the dribble to the near flank. Smith all the way across the court where Safford's wide open. 3 ball is no good, and a leaping rebound is hauled in by Sakuk Callie for the Aces. Evansville going quick behind the back. Coleman lost it, regained. High shot is no good. Rebound by the Aces. Second attempt won't go for Callie, and Miami rebounds. Jaquel Morris will pass off to Makai Larry. Larry working his way toward the middle, try to get penetration. He's knocked to the floor. Coleman with the steal, up ahead, and the dunk is blocked. Morgan Safford rejected Sakuk Callie to the near side, and Safford cool as he walks back to the bench. They're going to say last touch from the Aces, and Miami's going to force the turnover.
Yeah, he sure is cool. What a chase down block. We've been talking about it a lot this broadcast. A captain of this team, and Coach Steele talks about the compete level he brings to every practice, and we certainly saw it there. Would not take no for an answer there. It looked like LeBron smacking that thing off the backboard.
He meaning Travis Steele, brought the gold jersey trend over from Xavier, where you pick the best practice player based off a complicated point system, but it's really based off competitiveness. Morgan Safford won it each of the first 3 weeks. Larry's got it now for Miami, and he will draw a foul reaching in as he made his way to the near side. Preston Phillips will be whistled. That's the first team foul the second half for Evansville. Kind of flipped the script from the first half. Evansville found themselves in foul trouble. Miami a little bit in that territory now, already with 4, with just under 14 minutes to go.
And you got to wonder if maybe just a little bit of fatigue started to set in for this Miami team in the first game of the year.
Larry at the top of the key will settle down with 15 to shoot. Larry threads it in for Mirambau, spinning down the baseline. All sorts of space opened up, and they're going to say he traveled. There was a man guarding him that was Marvin Coleman. I'm not sure if he got a shoulder from Anderson Mirambau, but for some reason he took 3 steps back, and all this space opened up. And in turning around, it was not done so legally by Mirambau, and Miami will turn the ball over. Back on offense are the Aces. Coleman will set it up on the logo, heavily guarded. Coleman turns it back around after trying to drive. Now on the far elbow, Strawbridge Jr. looking for an option. Not finding one, he'll take it himself. Strawbridge Jr. to the rack, and that one clatters in. Strawbridge Jr. has 19 points. 9 for 15 from the field. Billy Smith has it on offense for Miami with the RedHawks trailing by 7. Now Mabry back to Smith. Lifted into the post and poked away. A foul is called. A lucky break there from the RedHawks, as that was not the best pass delivered in there by Billy Smith. A little off the mark, luckily for him. The intended target, Anderson Mirambau, was fouled in his attempt to go recollect the basketball. RedHawks will inbound from the baseline.
Yeah, good time for a whistle there from the RedHawks. Just last minute or so starting to get a lot more sloppy than we had seen them be really since the first few minutes of this one, it seems like.
Morgan Safford will inbound from the M along the baseline, and he's able to find Ryan Mabry. Mabry trying to do it himself, pulls up from the free throw line, and there was a foul called. The shot was no good. We'll see if they call the foul on the shot, and it looks like they're going to. Or rather, they'll say it's before the shot, so they'll move it over to the baseline where Miami will inbound. And just like that, the RedHawks have almost evened the foul game. 3 now for Evansville as a team. Off the inbound, Smith works his way into the corner. Now Safford in the post, guarded up by Strawbridge Jr. Safford mows him over, and he's called for the offensive foul. Travis Steele very frustrated. Coach Rob Summers going to hold him back, and Travis Steele is going to be called, I believe, for a tech there. And there it is. So Travis Steele in his first game picks up his first tech. And heading to the line now to shoot for Evansville. It looks like Yassine Tuomi is there. He'll knock the first one down. I beg your pardon, that's Blaise Beauchamp. Evansville now leading by 8. Travis Steele may be trying to fire his team up as the second free throw is good. Evansville's going to get the ball along their own baseline. Steele still pleading with the official.
Yeah, Luke, tell me if you disagree, but to me that looked like a prime example of a little bit of embellishment there from the Evansville defender. I really didn't think that Morgan Safford put his shoulder into him that hard, and definitely, I don't know, it didn't seem like the type of play you call a charge on. But
And I think part of Steele's argument was that happened very far from the basket as well.
Right.
But Evansville's going to benefit. Now leading by 9, they've got possession on the near side. Strawbridge Jr. guarded by Safford. A lot of emotion flowing through for the RedHawks. Got to rein it in here. Smith Jr. at the top of the key. Nice crossover. Smith Jr. though with an errant pass to the corner. And that will go the RedHawks' way. Smith Jr. just kind of stares down the bench. He got the first half of the play, not the second half. Really nice crossover move to get inside, but there were 3 RedHawks waiting on him. Was trying to kick into the corner where there was a wide open lane for an open 3, but instead that one just floated into the bench. Mirambao took 5 steps down the lane and got it to go. Very lucky there to not get called for a travel.
Yeah.
That was an NBA type of play, but nonetheless, the RedHawks will take it now down 7.
man, what can't he do? Front, face to the basket, back to the basket. He's scoring everywhere.
Deep 3, and Smith Jr.'s got it. Evansville's shot selection has not been something that any basketball coach is going to love, but they are making these contested deep 3s right now, and they lead by 10. Larry to the corner. Yofin drives the baseline, finds the far corner man. That's Safford. Now Yofin's got it back in the corner, and a 3-pointer's no good. Mirambao tried to tap the rebound out, but instead it went right to Strawbridge Jr., or rather Spinelli, who on the far side gave that one off to Beauchamp, who lost it. Picked off by Miami. Heading up court, Smith thought about the 3. Now he'll spin, and he is blocked. Tried to lift that one up on Sakuk Kali, who was waiting on it. And instead, that will be headed out of bounds. RedHawks will have the ball with 23 to shoot and 11:29 to go when we return. Things have opened up a little bit of a track meet over the past couple minutes. We got a Travis Steele tech. 11:29 to go. RedHawks down by 10. Back in a moment. This is Miami Basketball on RedHawk Radio. 11:29 to go here, and an entertaining one from Millett Hall. Luke West, Poley, Jack Schmelzinger alongside Zach Rengers on hand as well. 56-46, Purple Aces over RedHawks on opening night here in 2022-2023. Miami in their first game of the season. They will take on Goshen, the Maple Leafs of the NAIA, on Saturday here in Millett Hall at 1 p.m. Next Division I opponent on the schedule is not going to be an easy one. It will be in Athens, not the Athens the RedHawks are used to, though. It will not be Athens, Ohio. It will be Athens, Georgia, and the Bulldogs on the schedule for the RedHawks. That game will be next Monday.
Luke, a pretty cool non-conference slate for the RedHawks this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a good mix.
Yeah. They host Marshall, who's obviously kind of a geographic rival, Jackson State, the Deion Sanders School, Indiana State, Larry Bird's alma mater. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Marshall, former MAC team, used to be a huge rival of the RedHawks way back in the day. Used to be the RedHawks' chief rival, really. It was bigger than the OU rivalry. You could maybe even say it was bigger than the UC rivalry was, but they, of course, departed from the Mid-American Conference and having their own success, formerly in the Conference USA, now in their first year in the Sun Belt are the Thundering Herd. Good to see that non-conference rivalry renewed.
That is good to see, yeah.
Yeah. RedHawks will also have Wright State, which is another team that's had a nice rivalry with the RedHawks as of late. Raiders got a really good squad this year out of the Horizon League. Won it last year, went to the NCAA tournament. Out of this timeout, RedHawks with possession, out to the top of the key. Jumping up is Yof, and he comes down with it. Eventually into the corner, it finds Makai Larry. Trying to cross up on Smith Jr. Larry finds himself in the paint. Still trying to work, turns around in space, and Larry draws the foul.
I really don't know how he does that. I mean, he was surrounded by 4 guys there, and somehow still he's going to the charity stripe. But good job by the 5th-year senior.
Makai Larry will shoot 2. Don't need to remind you how good he is at the line. He'll knock the first one down. He's 4 for 4 now in the game. RedHawks are 8 for 11 from the charity stripe as a team.
And Luke, Larry's improved his free throw percentage every year. Would you put money on him improving it again?
I would not. No knock on him.
Yeah,
second one will go.
91.5 number, I mean, that's really tough to improve on. It's incredible.
I don't know. You might have heard me, though. He's at 100% this season. Quick off-balance 3 is made by Beauchamp. That was an ugly-looking shot, but those still count. And off the 2 possessions, it's +1 for Evansville, 59-48. Now it's Billy Smith down low for Mirambow. Trying to go down low. Mirambow couldn't get a shot up. He was fouled. Mirambow doing a good job to work down low. Now Evansville finding themselves kind of racking up the foul numbers. Miami's got 6 team fouls. Evansville's got 5. Mirambow at the line to shoot 2 with his team down 11. And the first one will take a couple deflections but find its way in. Second one good as well, and Mirambow is 2 for 3 on the night. 9-point Evansville lead, 10:53 to go here in the second half. Top of the key, Antoine Smith to the far side for Marvin Coleman. The point guard gets off the screen on the far flank, working towards the paint, kicks to the near corner, open 3 look for Smith Jr.'s well short. And rebounded, 3 RedHawks in the area. Mirambow ended up with that one in the breadbasket. Larry going to try to move quick, threaded it down for Safford. One-handed pass is tipped out of bounds by Coleman into the Miami bench. But the RedHawks will inbound from there. Good idea with Miami trying to work quickly. Morgan Safford went down under the hoop, but he has helped to his feet, and he looks to be just fine. Makai Larry will inbound for the RedHawks. And now he's actually going to switch up and direct Morgan Safford to go take it.
Anderson Mirambow with 15 points all of a sudden, and pretty efficient, 6 for 11 from the field too.
High percentage clip for the big forward. Larry hands it off to Mirambow. Tried to fire a pass in that was just too far ahead of Morgan Safford. Had a man tied up kind of on his back arm. That went a little too far ahead of his front arm, and that'll hit out of bounds.
Yep.
Turnover for the RedHawks.
Really good look from Mirambeau, like you said, just a little bit out in front of Safford. And he seems to have really turned it on here these last 10 minutes or so.
A high off-balance shot down the lane. Spinelli gets it. 61-50, Evansville leads as we cross the midway mark of half number 2. Larry driving, he's fouled. And while we got the time, Jack, I mean, these past couple of possessions, we saw it in the first half, we see it now. The shot selection for Evansville is, I mean, you'd call it questionable if they weren't making them, but they really are.
Yeah, and you kind of figure that at some point they're going to stop making them because that's just how basketball works. But I guess until they do, Miami's just going to have to try to keep playing catch-up. And it really hasn't been easy so far with these Evansville Purple Aces. They're putting on a pretty good performance, especially for how tough of a season they had last year.
Foul was on Sakuk Kali. Good save to keep that one in. And now another foul is called as Mirambeau got that ball inside. And a reach-in is called on Antoine Smith Jr. So Smith Jr.'s got 3. The 2 bigs for Evansville and Kali and Phillips, who are both out of the game now, both have 4. That's the 7th team foul for Evansville. So the entirety of the back part of this second half with 9:55 to go will be shot in the bonus for Miami. So the 1-and-1 will be taken by Anderson Mirambeau. Mirambeau lines it up and knocks the first one down. And the second free throw swishes in for Mirambeau.
Luke, we saw him have a pretty rough start, an airballed long jumper, a couple of missed jumpers, and a couple of missed layups, but it really seems like he's calmed himself down a little bit here and hasn't made a mistake in a long time, Anderson Mirambeau.
Evansville going to turn the ball over. Pass went behind Antoine Smith Jr., and just a tough mistake there for Marvin Coleman as the crowd's going to give it to him as he heads back. Miami now trailing by 9, and they'll get the ball at half court. Inbound by Yofin to Makai Larry. Larry gets a screen from Mirambeau, now double covered in the corner. Open look for Safford, and he connects. That came out of nowhere. Morgan Safford wide open, don't want to do that. The lead's down to 6. Coleman around the horn to the far side. Ball is tipped away by Yofin. Yofin on a fast break, and he lays it in. Miami only down by 4. 61-57. Energy back into Millett Hall. Coleman directing traffic as he heads to the near side, and a timeout called by the Purple Aces. RedHawk energy is back in a matter of moments, capitalizing on a couple of Purple Ace mistakes. We got a 4-point basketball game with 9:08 to go. Evansville looking to make some adjustments, calm things down. We'll see if they can do it when we come back. 61-57 our score with the Purple Aces on top. This is Miami basketball on RedHawk Radio. .908 to go, and they're having fun here in Millett Hall. RedHawks down by 4, but really with some nice strides. Jack, this is a game that felt like it might have started to get out of the RedHawks' control. The tech is taken by Travis Steele. RedHawks fall down by double digits after cutting the lead to as small as 2. But a couple of mistakes by Evansville, a couple turnovers. You leave Morgan Safford open. You get the steal from Eli Yofin, and all of a sudden it's a 4-point game.
Yeah, and that technical from Travis Steele really does seem like it was kind of the turning point. And Anderson Mirambeau, we've talked about it a little bit, but he has really turned it on here in the last 10 minutes or so as well to help get these RedHawks to this manageable deficit here. And I mean, a 4-point game with 9 minutes left to go, this game might as well be tied.
Mirambeau only averaged 1.5 points in his couple years at Cleveland State, 17 in the game for the Dominican.
And Luke, what a story Anderson Mirambeau is. I was interviewing him last week. He grew up in the Dominican Republic in Santo Domingo. He played baseball as a kid like you do in the Dominican Republic, but he told me he would come back from baseball practice, his organized baseball practice, and he'd go straight to the courts to play basketball with his friends. He moved to the United States when he was 16 years old. He didn't know a lick of English. Said it took him about a year to get really fully acclimated to the United States schools, and here he is today in his 4th season playing college basketball.
Grad transfer from Cleveland State. Aces trying to turn things around out of the timeout. 9 minutes to go in this one. Loose ball secured by Strawbridge. Back to the outside. Tuomi trying to work on Mirambeau. Lost it. Recollects off the glass. That one too strong. Rebound is fought for as the shot clock expires, and it'll go Miami's way. Solid defensive possession out of the timeout for the RedHawks. And a chance to cut this lead to 1 possession.
And Safford fired up down there. He's been fired up the last 2 plays. You can tell that this guy is really, really bought into this team, really wants to win.
Makai Larry at the top of the key looking for an option. Finds Yofin on the near elbow. Gets it right back. Larry with a lane to the basket on the left side. Left-handed layup is too strong. Picked up by Coleman for the Aces. Coleman racing down the court, and he is rejected by Larry. Oh, my goodness. Marvin Coleman, who had a clean look to get all the way to the basket, looked like he was going to have an easy bucket. And Makai Larry came out of nowhere and swung his arm, looked like 360 degrees almost, with some authority on the rejection. No foul called. Inbound on the baseline for Evansville. Back out to the corner, again poked away by Yofin. So it'll be another inbound. The pass was intended in the corner for Antoine Smith.
That was an awesome block from Makai Larry on that last play. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to find the replay of that on Twitter later.
That was next level stuff from Makai, the 5th-year senior, showing out against the team from his hometown, native of Evansville, Indiana. Off the inbound, working down the baseline, ball is poked loose and off the leg. It's going to be Miami ball. Saku Cali had it poked away, tried to recollect it, and just caught it off the thigh as that one heads out of bounds. RedHawks continuing to do the right things defensively, and the crowd really energized here at Millett Hall.
And Luke, with 8 minutes left in the second half, these guys are getting really fired up over loose balls, everything. You wouldn't think this is the first game of the year in a non-conference opponent.
Safford for 3, and he's got it. Once again, Makai Larry catching the Aces sleeping. He finds Morgan Safford wide open. And the RedHawks only trail by 1. Floater shot is no good for Tuomi, but he draws the foul. Really nice play there in response. But the RedHawks have got this lead down. They've been inching it down. They got it down to 4. It extended back up to double digits. They got it down to 3. It extended back out to double digits. Now it's down to 1. Evansville will head to the line to try and make it more, but this game certainly still in the RedHawks' hands with 7:52 to go. And so we will take a immediate timeout with just under 8 minutes. We got a game here from Millett Hall. Both teams shooting the bonus now. Evansville on top by 1. Stay with us. A fun finish on the way. This is Miami Basketball on Red Hawk Radio. 7:52 to go here from Millett Hall. Miami trailing Evansville 61-60 with the Aces headed to the line. It'll be Yassine Tououmi, the junior out of Moudon, France. Journeyman through college basketball. He will head to the line to shoot. It's been back and forth. Evansville has been shooting the ball better in the second half after going cold at the end of the first. But the Aces scoreless in the last 2:18, and Miami currently riding a 10-0 run over that same span. We talked about it in the break, Jack, but the energy from this RedHawks team is certainly something you love to see, and now it's maybe thinking, going back to that technical foul, was that something that was tactical in the mind of Travis Steele?
I mean, I certainly wouldn't put it past him.
It's in the cards for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I've talked to him, or not talked to him, but heard him talk a few times, and he seems like a smart guy. I mean, if you get to this level of head coaching in basketball, you got to think probably it's not doing very much for no good reason.
So Tououmi will head to the line. He's 2 for 3, or I beg your pardon, 1 for 2 from the free throw line on the day. With 7:52 to go, trying to make this at least a 2-point lead, but the first free throw won't go for him. And now 2-point lead is maybe all Evansville can get.
And Luke, you talked a little bit about the energy. You add that in with the shooting prowess of this team. We haven't really seen it tonight, but it's there on paper. And I mean, this is a team that maybe could surprise some people this year in the MAC.
Tououmi connects on the second free throw. So a 2-point Evansville lead. Miami with a chance to tie it up for the first time since the first half. Yofin at the top of the key, finds Larry, quick jab. Larry driving, pulls back, wanted a floater, it lost it out of his hands. Loose ball scooped up by Coleman. Miami gonna have to wait. Coleman spinning around, he's got Mabry on him. Coleman now to the logo where he finds Tououmi. Near side, that's Phillips. Or rather, that was Strawbridge Jr. Now in the high post on the far side, quickly to Tououmi. That one rolls around and in. Yassine Tououmi with 14 points, second on the team for Evansville so far tonight. And the Aces extend the lead back out to 2 possessions with 7:04 to go, 64-60. Top of the key, Larry thought about the shot. It would have been contested, pulled it back down. Larry finds Safford now to the near side on the wing. This is Mabry, cross-court shot. Fake shot by Yobin. Now he will find Mirambow down low, and he puts it off the glass and in. Beautiful ball movement, working the entire width of the court there for the RedHawks. And the lead back down to 2. Anderson Mirambow with 19 points in the game. Coleman pulls it back out. To the far side it goes for Bobe. Gage Bobe, 2 hands and inside. Strawbridge trying to work in the paint, double covered. Crumples down, and a foul will be called on the RedHawks. We'll see who it's on. There were 3 players there defensively for Miami. Mirambow was back there. Don't think he got the foul call, though. But regardless, heading to the line, it will be Strawbridge Jr. And the first one bounces up and in to make it a 3-point game. Foul's called on Eli Yofin. Three-point game. Now a 4-point game after the second free throw is good.
RedHawks just cannot get over that hump and take the lead. They just need a couple of timely stops and a couple of timely scores.
6:20 to go. RedHawks down by 4. Larry works his way to the far side. Clamped on the ball. He eventually is able to get it to the top of the key for Mabry. Larry gets it right back, drives down, kicks to the corner. Yofin had the ball stripped from his grasp. Up the court. A layup and in by Gage Bobe. Fast break there, and just a mistake for the RedHawks. One tiny loose ball, and now you find yourself down by 6. Under 6 to play. Safford able to find Mirambow. Mirambow looking, trying to bash his way towards the paint now. He does. Mirambow with a turnaround shot. He's blocked, but he is going to draw the foul. Was double covered there down low. First man got the foul down low. Second came in with a flying block, but it won't matter. Heading to the line to shoot two will be Anderson Mirambau.
Luke, I was pretty excited to watch Anderson Mirambau play today, but honestly, I never expected this type of performance. I had heard that he was pretty fleet on his feet, but, I mean, he looks, I don't know what he looks like down there. He does not look like a 300-pound man, though, that is for sure.
First shot from him will be no good from the free throw line. Miami will make a substitution and bring in Billy Smith, who hasn't been on in a while, and he will replace Eli Yofin. Mirambau knocks the second one down, and the Miami deficit is down to 5. 5:40 to go here in the second half. Coleman across half court. Strawbridge to the top of the key. Callie riding on 4 fouls. Gives it over to Bobe. Now top of the key, it's Coleman. Mabry gets screened. Coleman gets to the far side where he's double covered. Now top of the key shot for Tuomi is no good for 3. Rebounded by Miami's Ryan Mabry. RedHawks didn't have numbers. Now Mabry drives down the left lane. Player goes down for Evansville, and an offensive foul is called on Ryan Mabry. Third personal foul on Ryan Mabry, the Belmar, New Jersey native. That'll give it back to Evansville. 5-point game with just over 5 minutes to go, 5:06 remaining. To the near side on the flank, Strawbridge Jr., top of the key for Callie. Outside pass for Bobe. Now top of the key again, Coleman. Coleman steps back, little separation, and he knocks down the deep 2. Coleman's made an impact despite only having 8 points. Larry going to try to match with the right hand. Won't go. Mirambau gets the rebound and collects it on the loose change. Timeout called by Miami as the lead is cut back down to 5 with 4:35 to go. We'll keep you right here for the timeout. RedHawks with 9 team fouls. Evansville with 8 for Miami. They will have, I believe, 2 timeouts left, I should say, after this one. Evansville still with 3, as that's the first timeout called by the RedHawks here in the second half. So, Jack, 5-point deficit. It's hung largely the same as these teams have traded points over the last couple of minutes. Not really anything trending in either direction, it seems. How do you break the ice if you're Miami?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think both teams have done a pretty good job shooting the ball in the second half, especially Miami, 12 for 18 from the field. Really what it comes down to is your offense is working, but you just need some stops, and they really have not been able to do that at all so far in this half, and this game really as a whole even that much. And even when they force Evansville to miss a shot, they're not always getting that defensive rebound.
Aces with possession out of the timeout. 4:30 and counting to go. Near side, Strawbridge Jr. with an overhead pass to the top of the key. Callie lost it. He can't pick it back up, or it would be a double dribble. Miami picks it up on the ground. Safford got tied up. It's going to be a jump ball, and the possession arrow belongs to Evansville. Morgan Safford is slow to get up for the RedHawks.
Oh, geez.
And he's favoring that right knee.
Well, about 2 minutes ago, he went down near the basket, and he was holding that right knee too, and he shook it off.
So the training staff will come out. Miami going to gather the troops with 4:20 to go here. It'll be an Evansville possession as they've got the arrow. But all eyes right now on Morgan Safford. He's got 12 points in the game for the RedHawks. Shot 4 for 9 from the field, including 2 of 5 from 3. And both of those threes came at really opportune times for the RedHawks. Big momentum-changing shots from Morgan Safford, who is still down along the three-point line on the near side. Clearly in some pain. And we'll see how long the RedHawks have to work without him. For now, it looks as if it will be a Saffordless Miami team as they're going to turn him over to his back, still working on that right knee. So the RedHawks going to go on defense here. Still needing that stop. Looked like they had it. It was just an unfortunate play as the player that was next to it, Saku Kali, he knew right away as soon as he dropped that basketball. He touched it with two hands. He couldn't touch it again, or he would have been called for that double dribble. And he just let the ball go and kind of boxed a couple of Miami players out. And the type of player he is, Morgan Safford, Coach Steele said he's always diving for loose balls. He's always getting down on the court, and he did just that, and trying to get his way back up. There were a couple aces that got their hands in on that basketball, and then after the jump ball was called, he looked to be in some pain.
Yeah, and it is just so heartbreaking to see him down on the ground like this right now. You hope that he is okay, but he has poured his heart and soul into this team, and just to see him go down injured in the first game really, really stinks.
He's helped up to a seated position, and now will be helped up to his feet, and he's going to be helped over to the Miami side, putting no weight on that right foot. So a really unfortunate break for the RedHawks and Morgan Safford, as he will be tended to, and it looks like he's going to be taken right to the locker room for Miami with the training staff there. Tough one for the RedHawks, but now with 4:20 to go, it's a team in need of a jolt. And, you know, it just adds extra salt on the wound that Morgan Safford was probably the guy that you'd look to provide that. Nonetheless, RedHawks going on defense here, and the Millett Hall crowd, as is the Miami bench, trying to spur their team to pick up some energy. Trouble getting the ball in for Evansville, but they finally find a man. Strawbridge Jr.'s got it on the logo now as the Aces settle down. Tuomi in the same spot now, heads to the far side. Hand off to Strawbridge Jr., working his way in towards the corner of the paint. Step back, shot off the front of the rim, no good. Rebound tapped out. Tuomi gets there first. Top of the key. Thinking about the shot there is Bobe. Instead, it's kicked all the way around to the near side. Smith Jr. gives back to Coleman. Tuomi with 10 to shoot. Finds Strawbridge Jr. Strawbridge Jr. off the screen. Double covered. Ball gets tapped from his grasp. He recollects into the near corner. Smith Jr. with 2 to shoot. Sends it off the side of the backboard. And it will be picked up by the RedHawks. Makai Larry. Behind the back, he heads across half court. His defender goes down. Near side 3 is no good. Off the hands of Mabry. And it's rebounded by the Purple Aces. Strawbridge Jr. with speed. Down to the baseline. Up and under. That one too strong. Rebound tapped up in the air and secured by Anderson Mirabal. RedHawks going to settle this one down now for the moment. 3:20 to go with the RedHawks having possession, down 5. Down the lane, Larry thought about the shot. Instead, he passes back. Mabry for 3, and that one won't go. Tips off the head of a defender there for Evansville, and that's going to go into the Miami bench. That's one where you just take your eye off the ball a little too early, and that time it looked like Gage Bobe there for Evansville. Just started heading up court before he had that ball securely in his hands, and an easy defensive rebound turns into a turnover for the Aces. So the Miami offense will go back to work coming out of this timeout. 3:10 to go. RedHawks trailing by 5. They've got the possession arrow now as they will go back on offense. They'll have an inbound in front of their own bench. And Miami trying to rally the troops here late in this one. We'll take a short break, returning for an exciting finish here from Millett Hall. 3:10 to go, Miami down 5. This is Miami basketball on Red Hawk Radio. 3:10 to go. RedHawks down by 5. Miami has not led in this game. They will be on offense coming out of this timeout. RedHawks with 2 timeouts left. Same mark for the Purple Aces. If you're just joining us, it's been a back-and-forth game. Slow start for the RedHawks. It's been very back-and-forth since. RedHawks, though, have been unable to tie or take the lead in this game. They are without Morgan Safford, who went down moments ago with an apparent right knee injury. Out of the timeout, Mirrenbaugh all the way to the basket, and a blocking foul is called as he ran a man over down low, and that was Tuomi. Heading to the line for more will be Anderson Mirrenbaugh, who's just really found himself at the charity stripe a lot. He's going to go there now for the 5th time.
Yeah, and he's just so big and strong, they really have no choice but to foul him, and it's kind of nice there. You see a big guy collide with a not as big guy. Usually you see the big guy get the foul call on him. Nice job by the ref there to see through the noise.
And Mirrenbaugh will knock the first one down. So Evansville will make a substitution. Antoine Smith will come out. Saku Cali will come in. Cali sitting on those 4 fouls still. Mirrenbaugh knocks the second one down. RedHawks down by 3 with 3:07 to go. Strawbridge Jr. right back to Coleman, who will call a play as he heads up the court. Coleman dumps it off for Tuomi, top of the key. Tuomi weaves around his man, that was Bobe, almost crashed into him. Now this is Coleman, back to Tuomi, foul called, and the reach in from Billy Smith for Miami.
A really big defensive possession here for the RedHawks. I mean, they're all really big at this part of the game when you're this close, but every time down the floor is a chance for Miami to make a stop and tie this game up.
Yassine Tuomi at the line. 2 for 4 from the stripe today, but he'll knock the first one down, and it's back to a 2-possession game. UE on top by 4. Tuomi ready, second free throw on the way, and that one is rebounded by Miami after the miss. RedHawks down by 4. Larry weaving into the paint, looking for an option. He finds Billy Smith outside. RedHawks will settle, 2:39 to go. Floated into the post, slung through. Mirrenbaugh couldn't get the shot in. Gets his own rebound off the glass. Second try won't go. A miraculous attempt to get that shot up by Mirrenbaugh, but then it looked like it might have been an easy make instead. 0 for 2 from down low is Mirrenbaugh, and Evansville's got it back with a 4-point lead. 2:19 to go. To the near side, open 3 look, not taken by Strawbridge. Instead, he'll drive down low. Cali will slam. Evansville by 6. Larry moving quickly up the court. He will give off to Billy Smith. Smith to the far side for Ryan Mabry. Mabry surveying. Gets a screen, doesn't open up much space for him. Mabry, step back, long 2, up in the air, no good, and the rebound pulled down by Yassine Tuomi for Evansville. Purple Aces will slow down here. They've got a 6-point lead, and they will shoot the double bonus should they be fouled. Around the screen, Coleman kicks into the corner, now around to the near elbow. Strawbridge Jr. to the far side, 3-pointer from Bobe, no good. Felt as if that one could have been a dagger, potentially a big miss from Gage Bobe. Rebounded for Miami by Ryan Mabry. Top of the key, it is Mirrenbaugh to the far side. Mabry weaving his way in down low. Step back shot is good. Ryan Mabry cuts the lead down to 4. 75 seconds remain. Coleman across half court. Evansville taking their time. Strawbridge Jr. jabs, has a lane down low, now pulls back. Strawbridge Jr. down low off the glass, gets it to go. Under a minute to play. Evansville by 6. Larry will pull back for Miami. Off the screen, doesn't get anything. Some room opens up. Mirrenbaugh's going to have to take the 3, and he connects. Anderson Mirrenbaugh, a big man 3. He converts his first of the night, and that makes it a 3-point game with 47 seconds remaining. A timeout is called on the floor by Miami. It will be their 3rd. They've got 1 left, and with 47 seconds to go, 2 potentially big plays on each end of the court. You got a guy who's been a solid free throw shooter tonight in Gage Bobe. a big miss, and a guy who maybe you don't think will shoot the three, and Anderson Mirenbaugh just had to. He was wide open in a 6-point game. He'll knock it down.
Yeah, and Luke, I don't know about you, but I definitely did not have Anderson Mirenbaugh 27 points in his debut game on my bingo card. And, I mean, he's only 2 rebounds away from a double-double. That's probably not going to happen, but still a really, really impressive performance from the big man in his first Miami game.
9 for 16 from the field, which is solid. But considering he's 6'8", 305, to say that he made a three is impressive enough. And then to add on that he's 8 for 10 from the free throw line is very impressive for a big man.
And he missed 2 easy ones down there in this quarter, and back in the first he missed 2 really easy ones down there. So
they've kind of come in bunches, it seems.
But I feel like he could very easily be 11, 12, 13 for 16 right now.
Absolutely. So the RedHawks will trail by 3. Evansville will have the ball. Shot clock and game clock separated by 17 seconds with 47.4 to go. Aces have 2 timeouts. Both teams will now shoot the double bonus. Evansville with 9 team fouls, Miami with 10. For Evansville on the court, it will be Tawomi, Bobe, Strawbridge Jr., Coleman, and Smith. For Miami, it will be Mirenbaugh, Mabry, Larry, Tatum, and Billy Smith. Aces with possession at half court, or I beg your pardon, at the baseline, with the players lined up all along half court. Easy throw in, and Miami's going to let Evansville have half court here. Coleman will cross the line. Coleman off the screen, into the corner. Bobe jabs, now heads back outside. 15 to shoot, 30 now on the game clock. Back out to the logo. Tawomi stepping in on Mirenbaugh. Tawomi tried to pull it back, and it was stolen away. Racing up court are the RedHawks. Smith back for Larry. Shot clock is off, 20 seconds to go. Mirenbaugh tries the three, and it's no good. Rebounded for Evansville by Coleman, and he will be fouled. Anderson Mirenbaugh trying to electrify Millett Hall there, but that's probably not going to be one that's going to make Travis Smith very happy, or Travis Steele rather, very happy, as he took a contested three. And sometimes you can get magic to work once, but to get it to work twice might be pressing your luck.
Yeah, just probably not the right shot to take, and it felt right in the moment when I was watching him, but
Coleman will connect on the first free throw. That'll make it a 4-point game here with 13.7 seconds to go. Once again, shot clock is off.
RedHawks going to need a miracle here now to pull this one out.
Coleman lines it up and makes the second one. He's got 10 in the game now, and a 30-second timeout will be called by the Purple Aces. So Miami down by 5, had a chance to tie the game, couldn't do so. Now they're going to need at least one more plus a foul or a steal. They're going to need back-to-back shots. And this has just been a struggle for the RedHawks all night, Jack. They've played so well when they're down by double digits, but as soon as the lead dwindles, it seems like things start to get a little bit on the looser end for the RedHawks, and the complimentary basketball has been a struggle for Miami as they're still yet to tie this game despite cutting this lead down to single digits too many times to count in this one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's honestly crazy that they have cut it's just been hovering around the same area for so long, and they still haven't led since it was 3-2 back in the first half. But like you said, just, I don't know, pretty interesting performance from the RedHawks here tonight, and guess they're probably not going to come away with the win, but
gonna need something. You could point to 5-point leads probably for Evansville every 2 minutes or so throughout this game.
Absolutely.
But Miami still yet to tie it. Off the inbound, quickly up the court is Makai Larry, 10 seconds to go. Larry to the basket, gets a nice roll, and with 8 seconds to go now, Miami will call a timeout of their own. Makai Larry with a really nice play, low percentage there to get that roll, but the RedHawks are still alive here with 7.8 to go. Miami calls their final timeout of the game, and now Evansville has the ball in their court, up 3. They'll have an inbound from their baseline. Travis Steele going to try to draw up a steal play here.
That was pretty good. Is it the bonus plus right now, or just the bonus?
Double bonus for both teams. Fouls have been an issue for Evansville in both of their scrimmages. They kind of got into it a little bit early in the second half in terms of individual fouls, but have done a good job to stay out of it since. They have not had a player foul out despite Callie and Phillips riding on 4 fouls apiece for a long time now. It's been a number of minutes since they each picked up their 4th fouls. They picked them up near the midway mark of the second half, and neither has fouled out.
And maybe another missed opportunity there for Miami. Maybe you should have been going at those guys just
Yep.
a little bit harder.
They're the couple bigs for Evansville,
exactly.
too, in the same position. We've seen them play interchangeably for each other. So here we go, inbound from the baseline. Marvin Coleman will take it. In front of him, leaping in the air, is Jaquel Morris. Quickly the ball to the far side. It's loose, and now back into the middle. The foul is delivered as Coleman gets it. Almost disaster there on Kenny Strawbridge Jr. Lost it in front of the Miami bench, but was able to recollect. And he will shoot the double bonus. 2 shots with 4.2 remaining.
Imagine that. My heart just almost jumped out of my chest when I saw that ball on the ground, but no dice.
Coleman to the line. 4 for 5 from the charity stripe this evening. Needs 1 to make it a 2-possession game. He will shoot the double bonus, 2 shots. And the first one rolls away. So hold on now. Still got 1 to go. RedHawks going to go with Tatum, Larry, Smith, Mabry, Mirambow. That'll be the 5 that will have to get it up court and get a 3 in 4 seconds should this be missed. Loud crowd. Coleman's second free throw is good. Ice cold from Coleman. RedHawks move it up quickly. Larry across half court with 1 second left, fires up a 3. It won't go. And the Evansville Purple Aces survive a scare in Oxford. The lead got down to the single digits so many times, but Evansville doing what they need to do, and they will survive the trip to Southwest Ohio and come away with a win on opening night. 78-74 is your final as the Purple Aces improve to 1-0 on the season. They will travel to St. Louis on Saturday to take on a really solid Billikens team for Miami. They will take on Goshen on Saturday, an NAIA opponent, as they look to pick up their first win after dropping a close bout here with Evansville. Jack, this was very entertaining from start to finish and a solid showing from Miami overall under Travis Steele, his first game as head coach of the RedHawks, but we talked about it in the late goings of that broadcast, just not the complimentary basketball that the RedHawks needed late in this one.
Yeah, a unfortunate result for the RedHawks, like you said, but just such an entertaining game, and it seems like this team is going to be a fun team to watch. I mean, you got the 300-pound Anderson Mirambo dropping 27 points, and you've got the 145-pound Makai Larry doing great things, the walk-on Yofan putting up points. It was just a really, really fun game from what appears to be a pretty fun team here tonight.
So Miami falls to 0-1 on the season. Once again, they will take on Goshen on Saturday here at Millett Hall as they will look to get their first win. That will be a 1 p.m. start. It is a packed week of Miami events that we will have coverage of here on Red Hawk Radio. We'll get our postgame rolling in a moment, but we do want to remind you, tomorrow, Battle of the Bricks, Miami football, 7:30 against Ohio. Big game as the RedHawks continue to chase bowl eligibility. On Friday morning, it'll be the Class at the Court Goals for Life game for the RedHawks as the Talawanda School District is hosted here at Millett Hall. Miami takes on the Vermont Catamounts in women's basketball. That game will get started at 10:15. We'll have coverage of that one. That night, Miami takes on Colorado College in the first game of the series as the RedHawks are still looking for NCHC win number 1. Of course, the next time the Miami men will hit the hardwood will be the game against Goshen that we will carry here on Saturday afternoon, and the nightcap on Saturday. Miami hockey in their second game of the series against Colorado College. That will be a 5:05 start. We'll have full coverage as always. Jack, this was a fun one. Certainly a lot to be entertained with and a lot to like about this Miami team. Unfortunate they can't get the result, but certainly good things that we could take from this one that maybe would be something that we wouldn't see from teams in years past.
Yeah, good things, and if you were here in attendance at this game, I don't think that anyone who was is anything but excited for this season of Miami basketball. I just wish that there were more people down there in the student section to watch the 300-pound man drop nearly 30 points. I mean, can you imagine what the crowd would have been doing if they had been here watching that?
Yeah, that would have been fun for sure. Millett Hall with a solid crowd, but we're still trying to get up to those UC standards that we saw last year. That was unbelievable. RedHawks are going to need to win some games to draw that kind of crowd, but we'll see. Hopefully they can do so. It'll all start on Saturday, and then, of course, the big game to circle will be in Athens, Georgia on Monday with Miami taking on the RedHawks. All right, enough recapping. It's time to send it over to the real recapper, Zach Rengers, on the postgame. Take it away, Zach.
Thank you, Luke. Tough one to lose if you're Miami, but certainly felt like there was a lot you could build on in that 78-74 loss the Miami RedHawks suffered here at Millett Hall to the visiting Purple Aces of Evansville. A really great game down the stretch. Not much more to say about that. Obviously, back and forth, and Luke said it best on the broadcast. It just seems like when they're down many, many points and they got a big, sizable lead in front of them, they're playing their best ball, and then as soon as that lead diminishes, it seems like the intensity is gone, and that was really the status quo for the RedHawks, unfortunately, down the stretch. Looking at it from a team standpoint, UE had 78 points on 28 of 60 shooting, so a 46% clip on field goal, and they were 7 for 23 from the three. A very good night shooting threes. It just seems like whenever Miami would have some momentum built up, right away Evansville would hit a three, and that would end that run that Miami would be on. But nonetheless, UE scores 78. That's good enough to win this one. Looking towards the Miami side, 74 points on 26 of 60 shooting. They were 6 from 23 from the three-point line, and they were 16 of 20 at 80% from the free throw line as well. We saw Evansville be 75% at 15 of 20 from the free throw line. The two key performers on both sides, we saw Strawbridge for the Aces. He had 23 points, 9 of 17 shooting, played 35 minutes for them, so certainly a lot to like from Strawbridge. And we talked about it many times today. Mirambow, the unsuspecting performer after you saw his stats at Cleveland State, comes out, scores 27 on 9 of 17 shooting, 1 of 3 from 3, 8 of 10 from the line, played 31 minutes tonight. Me and Luke were talking about it prior to the game. We were kind of wondering, obviously a bigger guy, how's he going to hold up in terms of stamina? I think all those questions are answered, played very well tonight. And then Larry playing all 40 minutes, number 2 for the RedHawks. Obviously the grad senior, just a rock on the offensive side. Going to need to lean on him all year long, and he's going to continue to perform for this team. That's about it, really. There's not much more to be said. It was a great back-and-forth battle, a lot to build on. If you're Travis Steele and this Miami squad, they'll take it in to their next game on Saturday and try to pick up a big win against an NAIA opponent, and they'll get right back to doing their thing on the road in Athens after that. Thank you for tuning in here on Red Hawk Radio. We'll have more coverage coming up. Like Luke said, Battle of the Bricks tomorrow night. Going to be a big one. Be sure to tune in to Red Hawk Radio. A lot of implications for the RedHawks. You want to go to a postseason bowl, feels like you got to beat Ohio tomorrow night. So that's going to be something to look out for, a little midweek action. Other than that, thank you for tuning in. As always, have a safe night. Thanks for tuning in to Red Hawk Radio.